Belton Independent School District Board of Trustees to order. A quorum of board members is present. This meeting has been duly called in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. If you'll join me in the pledge to the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. You may be seated. Thank you for joining us. Y'all can't be seated. Jump right back on up. So we have a full agenda tonight, but we're going to begin with a workshop and talk about our bond program updates and construction planning and all. So how are we going to start this? Amy, you going to get us started?
Jared's on vacation.
Amy's going to, you let Jared take vacation?
Well, when you see the schedule,
Yeah.
You'll know this is the time.
This is his last vacation for the next 3 years? Is that how that works?
So, yes.
Okay, well, Amy, we're glad you are all here. Welcome. Give us an update.
All right, we're glad to be here. I do want to introduce the team that's with me tonight. So I think you all know Rebecca.
Rebecca's been with us many times.
Working on the projects, and this is Jana Duke. And you'll hear more from both Rebecca and Jana in just a minute.
All right, we have a program here, so we're good.
We're going to stick to it. All right. So thank you for having us here. We're going to give you a quick update. So some recent activity, a lot of recent activity actually. No summer break for those working on your bond projects.
Good.
Wanted to let you know there have been multiple meetings, a lot of collaboration. In fact, not only with administration and staff, but even teachers who would normally be on summer break have come in and participated in some of our meetings. We've had a number of meetings with the City of Temple. Everyone involved in all of these have been very enthusiastic, very excited, very supportive about your bond project. So we're going to talk more about some of the progress we've been making in a minute here. But also, through those ongoing meetings, we've been integrating all of the design team members in the process now that we're past schematic design. And that's what brings us to this org chart that we provided. Dr. Kincannon asked, she was starting to see some new faces at the meetings with all the project executive committee and others. So you can see from this org chart, you won't meet a lot of these people as members of the board, but we wanted you to know that there are well over 30 people involved right now already, just on the design side of the project. Everyone from our staff and our team working on the architecture, interior design, and MEP engineering, to consultants in the areas of civil engineering, structural, and all down the line. And so you can see who some of those firms and some of those individuals are from this org chart. And we just provided that for your information. Additionally, throughout the last month, we've been developing the design development stage, taking in all the input that we've been getting from all of the stakeholders and participants in the process. And then we fully engaged the construction manager that you hired in the spring. So they are on board, they've been participating in meetings and giving input as well. So generally, that's a broad overview, and Rebecca's going to talk about the two new school projects real quick.
And these are just very quick updates. We are currently working on the elementary school, the design development documents. So this week, we are wrapping up the 100% design development documents, and so we will have those to share with you very soon in the next couple of days. We've been on the elementary school, we've been continuing with the architecture and engineering progress. We've also been looking at the colors, the interior and exterior colors. And so in the August meeting, we will have some colors to bring to share with you, some of the studies that we are working on now. And we've also had a chance to meet a couple of weeks ago with the City of Temple for both the elementary school and the high school. And in that meeting, we were able to spend some meaningful time with them and share with them for both projects, elementary school and the high school, our site plan, our floor plans, general planning. We had discussions as far as our schedule and their schedule, and so it was a very good meeting. We appreciated them taking the time to meet with us and so that we can keep on track with them. And
We had engineers from both
yes,
sides.
we had engineers,
So we
yes.
could really work through some of the
Yeah,
details.
you know, and I appreciate you mentioned that. I'm glad to hear that. And I know one of the things that a lot of people have been wondering about is just the construction, not just of our schools, but of the roads and how all that meshes together and traffic and all that. And the conversations I've had with people over at the cities, they're very attuned to working with you all and our contractor to make that efficient and work all that out. But y'all are into the details of that, obviously I'm not, but you're into the details of some planning and working on, they have multiple road projects.
They do,
obviously.
they do, the Poison
Some
Oak,
that are
yeah.
directly impact and some that are not quite as direct, but close.
Right.
by. So,
The Poison Oak upgrades, the modifications for that road, and then also the FM 2483.
Right.
And we talked a
they're
little.
talking about the outer loop, the old Waco Road, the outer loop
Right.
area, which while it's not there, it still will have some traffic flow issues.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's good for all of us and certainly
Mm-hmm.
for people who live in that area to know that y'all are working closely together and formulating plans and timelines together. So that's good.
Good. Yeah, they've been very helpful. We appreciate that.
Good.
And then so we mentioned that we would be bringing colors back to you guys in August next month. And at the same time, we'll be asking for design development approval. So the drawings that we are wrapping up this week, and that will provide the district updates for the design development documents. We will next month be asking for approval of the design development documents so we can proceed into construction documents where we really get into the detailing. And
Can you
and then-
remind me again the timeline of when it goes to bid? How does that
yes,
play out?
it's the elementary school goes to bid in October.
In October. So we're
Right.
going to do a month level each for the next consecutive months, and then it'll go to bid in October. Is that right? We've got.
Right. Well, this is July. We'll provide documents this month, ask for approval next month for design development, go straight into construction documents
Right.
and be ready in October.
And then it'll go out the next month.
Right.
In October.
In
So we'll
October.
get design development approval in August, and then we'll finish construction documents in September, October.
Right.
And approval then.
Right.
So
Right. There's a 2-month gap there.
So we'll have approval steps August and then not until
August and
Okay,
October.
Okay.
Yes.
So we'd-
So we'll go bid probably November.
So bid goes at the, right after that,
Right.
yes.
presumably?
Right.
Okay.
All right. Any questions on the elementary school?
Just again, I've asked this question every month since we've been starting about, but essentially, we're going to walk into the school and recognize it because it's going to look pretty much like what we've been doing the last 3 schools. Is that right? So it's going to be very familiar. There's some tweaks, but for the most part, we're going to walk in and say, yeah, we recognize this,
You'll know
right?
it's a prototype.
Yeah, it'll look very similar to what we've
Floor
done.
plan, Basically.
Same basic structure,
Yes.
functional, with a few modifications. that we
Right, a
talked
few
about some of those, but
modifications.
pretty much, it's going to be the same thing we've done the last 3 times.
Right.
Which are a little bit different.
Right. Learned a little bit each step along the way.
Okay,
Okay.
that's good.
All right. Any other questions on the elementary?
I got anything on elementary?
Okay.
That's kind of the easy one because we follow in the pattern, you know.
Right.
pretty good.
Right. Right.
There'll be a couple of new features that will be different, but nothing drastic from the prototype that we've had.
I know we were stretching all of that, the staging lanes or, and doing all of that.
Oh, that's-
And is that, all that been figured out? Have we maxed all that out as much as possible?
As far as the stack
Stack space.
space, for
Yeah.
the,
Correct.
yes, we have. We've kind of swung down to create a little bit more in that area.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for getting input from our teachers, those who live there and have been in those buildings. That's so important to bring them back in and appreciate those willingness to come in, obviously, but asking them
They
and
gave great,
letting
our
them be at the
teachers gave
table.
really great input into the
Good.
interior design of the facility. So
Good.
it's their school, they'll be
It's-
using it.
Right,
Yeah. We appreciate that, especially in the summertime.
yeah.
All right, so that brings us to the high school. In the high school, we are also wrapping up a package this week of documents, but it is the 50% design development documents. So we will also have something to share later in the week as far as drawings go for an update for the high school. But it won't be quite as far along as the elementary because that one we're calling 100% design development drawings, and this one we're calling 50% for the high school. So it's the snapshot in time is a little bit not as progressed, but it'll give us a chance to all pause and take a look at the drawing in some detail. So on the high school, we're also continuing to have some the architecture and engineering collaboration and process taking place. We've been discussing mechanical systems and also the starting to have the conversations for interiors and exteriors on it as well. We have more meetings to come with the district on the interiors and exteriors on the high school. And we've been talking to utility providers, and again, the City of Temple meeting, the one we were just talking about a few minutes ago, that was for both the elementary school and the high school. So kind of the same updates we were able to share with the city, both giving and receiving, so that was good. And then our next deliverable after this week will be our 100% design development, and that will take place in September. And that parallels with the type of documents you'll be getting for the elementary school this week.
Okay.
So the high school is just not quite as far along. It's a bigger project. And then we will, when we provide the 100% design development drawings to you in September, we'll be coming back to you in October and asking for approval for the design development so we can continue on to the construction documents.
Okay.
That's very quick.
So project that one out then, just like with the elementary, ask what are the next steps and timeline?
Okay, well, this week is the 50% DD. September is the 100% DD. And in spring, March is when we have the 100% construction documents that we'll be able to put it on the street.
And so that
March of 2018.
March,
Right.
okay.
We'll be bidding in the spring. but
Right.
We'll complete the documents
Right,
in March.
So for the elementary school, we'll do in October,
right,
for the high school in March.
right.
Okay,
Elementary school has the fall bidding, and then the high school has spring.
okay. Gotcha.
Any other questions on the high school? All right, thank you.
Timeline helps, okay.
All right. And last week, we kicked off the two other projects for Lakewood Elementary School additions and the Wall Street Auditorium project. We had our very first meeting, just an initial meeting with administration to talk about kind of the goals of those projects, just make sure everybody was on the same page. On the Wall Street Auditorium, we're really going to be focusing on modernization of that facility and then accessibility. We will have to make some modifications to the building to bring it up to the requirements for accessibility once we start getting in there and working on some things. So really, we talked about that quite a bit. And then on the Lakewood Elementary, the music and gym addition project, really talked about Sparta being kind of the model as to what that looks like generally from a square footage and that sort of thing. Talked about some of the opportunities that this project will provide to maybe enhance some things like the student queuing area for pickup in the afternoon. Anything we can do to enhance operations on the campus with this little addition. We're just looking at that. Reviewing some site options, but nothing has been finalized. Again, very initial kickoff meeting. We're looking forward to engaging the campus staff to get their input for that. That'll be a next step. And then from a timeline standpoint, we'll be moving through. We did talk about packaging these projects potentially for bidding in order to get better costs and more efficiency for the district and really maximize your tax dollar. But some of those things are all in the initial conversations. So we're looking ahead to the completion dates, and then we'll work backwards from that, and understanding that you want the addition at the Lakewood campus for fall of 2018, and then potentially getting that Wall Street Auditorium modifications completed by spring, so of that same year, 2018. So
Obviously, for the Lakewood's addition, the disruption of school
Yes,
is the biggest concern.
yes. And we had
How do you do this
Yep.
without disrupting the school year, and what do you do in the summer and all that? The
And-
auditorium, less so, obviously,
so.
but
Yes, there'll be multiple components to that discussion, but as we get into the design with the staff, we'll have that discussion on the design team side. So what can we do with the project placement site, all those things to address site concerns with ongoing operations. And then once we kind of finalize the concept, and once we understand who the contractor is when we bid it, or however which we understand it'll be bid in some form, then there'll be a second conversation with them, safety, security with ongoing operations, and how do you secure the area and the students and maintain egress and all those things we have to do. So those will be significant parts of the process.
right. Okay,
Any questions on these two projects? Just getting started.
yeah, pretty interested to see what you come up with.
Everybody's excited about it, so it's going to be fun.
That one's been a long time coming, both of those, actually.
All right. So then we'll move into the second part of our presentation, if that's all right, which is not necessarily an update on us on the project progress, but it is talking about high schools and high school design to support a school's identity. So really what we wanted to talk about is that, research, articles, and experience tells us that you have an opportunity when you design a new school to do some things for that campus, for that experience through the design process. And some of the most common things that come up when you talk about the opportunity in research and articles and the experiences that students and faculty and administration have are here on this slide. So why do you want to incorporate the design process with your school's identity and kind of get those things connecting? And the opportunities you have is it's an opportunity to build culture and help create the culture for a campus and for a school. It's an opportunity to increase and build school pride and student pride in their community, their school community. It provides what we would express as a discernible school identification and recognition opportunity. So the potential for people to know from the moment they approach the campus to when they're in it, kind of who goes to school here, who are these students, and what are they about. It's an opportunity to unify school spirit through clubs and sports, when you talk about mascots and school colors and things like that. There's the opportunity to reinforce the school's mission and the culture and their core values. It's an opportunity to really communicate the trust and the loyalty that students have for each other and for that school campus. Another thing that it will do is it'll help you align the school's internal culture and your external reputation, and kind of, so what do people see and think when they approach, and then how do you act within the school and how do you operate? And then the other opportunity is, if taken at the right time in the process of design, is the quality of the integration of all these ideas into the new school through the building and the design and the construction. And so how do these ideas really translate? I mean, these are kind of some big ideas. How do you translate that into the architectural execution or the process of design? And Jana is going to talk a little bit more about that, but some of the things that happen if you think about it. So the way that you can integrate these ideas into the design will really help reflect kind of the value and the importance of them, of the space. And you'll see some things like that. It can help you define some unique spaces within a school. So like the Eagle's Nest as a place within a school for the campus where the mascot is the Eagles. Well, that's where the seniors can go to, study separate or something like that. It's also an opportunity to really help build a sense of community for a campus in a short time from the very beginning, to kind of get people rallying around a new school community. And then we really want to think about it. It's more than just paint or graphics on a wall. Color can really create different feelings and different opportunities within the school. Again, Jana's going to touch on that. But what integrating early these kinds of things into the design can do is be sure that you are creating a full campus experience from academics to athletics. And so I think Jana's got some great examples, so she's going to tie it together with some images.
Yeah.
So in this first example, when we talk about a full campus experience, when we step back and look at all of these pictures as a whole, you recognize that they all belong together. They all belong in the same space, and they're part of a bigger whole. So when it's very literal, like the top right image, where we literally have the logo, the name, and the school color, even when it's very subtle, like in the bottom right image, it's just the school color along the floor. And no matter where you are in the campus, a corridor, athletics, or walking in for the first time, you know what that school is about, and you're a part of that. And it kind of creates that identity that Amy was talking about. These three examples have completely different identities. The school and the top three images on the left, they don't have an athletics and they're not a comprehensive high school, but they have an identity. Their goal and their purpose is to prepare students to go to college. And when you first walk in that door, there are quotes along the wall that are inspirational about how to be successful. Around their main dining area, they have collegiate seals that wrap around that, and even to their mirrors in the bathroom say, "I am a graduate." So you are constantly reminded, and you know what the purpose of that facility is. The school on the right-hand side, the top two images on the right, they are blue Badgers through and through, and from the moment you walk in that door, you can tell. It is in their bleachers, it is in their floor, permanently in that floor in that top right image. That is their Badger logo. You cross it every day as student, staff, or visitor. And it really projects to the community what they're about. And very similar in the bottom left image, even in a much more collegiate feel, when we have that information early, we can integrate it into the architecture. These Portola Bulldogs, right in the wall, built into the architecture, is their logo. Built into the desk in that front is their school color. And integrated into the ceiling in that image on the right is their school color as well. So again, feeling like you belong. But if you imagine for a second if either of that floor inlay or the Portola Bulldog were just a banner hung on a wall, it portrays a very different thing. Amy's talking about quality of integration. When we integrate this into the architecture, it feels important. It feels like something that is meaningful to that community and to that facility. We have another full comprehensive example here, the Gerald Cougars. But I want to kind of focus, we know that Gerald Cougars are the blue Cougars. I want to focus on the images that have different colors. As educational designers, we do a lot of research and study on colors and their importance in a school facility. And we know that they have an impact on students and the learning process. We know that colors, if used properly, they can help reduce stress. They can create a brain challenge in a very positive way. They help your brain put together patterns and decipher hierarchy of spaces. So we know how to use those tools. And we also know how to brand a school. So to be able to marry those two things together so you feel like the Gerald Cougars in a well-planned design environment, we know that from the beginning and we can make those decisions early on. Oh. And I don't have to tell you guys, but we know the importance of mascot and school colors when it comes to athletics. When we look at these pictures, right into the bleachers, we have GHS, onto the field. We see their logo, their mascot, even in the weight room. They are bleeding blue and orange. On the school on the left, the structure of the ceiling up above, that top left image, they've painted that red. The school board brings in the blue. You have the blue bleachers, the red on the wood, and then all the way into the field, they are the Duncanville Panthers. And the Duncanville Panthers are my alma mater. And they, that's why I incorporated it. So they've built a new school since I went to school there, but still when I look at this image, I remember what it was like to be a Duncanville High School Panther. And that's a pretty cool story. Like, we had that opportunity with this high school to create that memory for future generations. So that's kind of a cool thing that we get to do here. We don't want you guys to miss out on opportunities. When we look at the top two images, these are beautiful architectural spaces, but they don't feel like they belong to anybody. They could be a knight, they could be a pirate, they could be a bear. We don't really know who they're a part of. And we know it's important to this community for students to feel like they're part of the community and feel like they belong to something that is more identifiable than what this conveys. In an extreme example, the image on the bottom, they also did not select their mascot or colors, but they went ahead and made color selections in the building environment. So their colors ended up being navy and gold, but the bleachers are green. So it's got to be a little confusing from a fan experience, especially if that opposing team is green. Kind of, who are you rooting for? Who is this about? So for all of this, we just want to be able to make these good decisions and create that culture and environment that we know your staff, your community has asked for with this new campus.
I have a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
In Duncanville, what was your second mascot?
Well, we were the Panthers.
Yeah, so what are they, the other school now?
Oh, they only have the one school. They just redid it.
Oh, they built a new school?
Yes, yes. I went
One
to the
school, gotcha,
1960s
gotcha.
school. They built a modern campus. Yes, ma'am. Are there any other questions with all that?
So really, it's about being intentional with planning as opposed to generic and then filling space.
Excellent word, intentional.
And we have the time to do it right, so let's be intentional about our planning.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And branding has become more important.
Branding's
in
important.
All aspects of the work that we do and in general in
Sure.
society, branding is just really important.
Okay. That's what faces us.
All right. So next steps, just all around, and Rebecca touched on a lot of these. So design development is wrapping up this month for the elementary school. High school number 2, 50% design development is wrapping up. And as Rebecca said, I think the important thing to note there is these two projects are going to start to separate on the timeline because the high school is so much bigger. So everything will just take longer to produce and get through each process. Kicking off the Lakewood Music Edition and Gym Edition. So we'll be working through some early design in July and August, and same with the Wall Street Auditorium. And then there's the other answer to the questions you asked about bidding. So we're
Sorry.
suggesting
Should've
that.
just waited, huh?
Well, no.
You
we
could've just
wa-
told me, I'm
we
getting
just
it.
say things a couple times, so everybody picks up on that. So the elementary school will bid at about the same time as the auditorium and the Lakewood Elementary School project, you'll see. So same time frame. And then the high school will bid in the spring. So it's very exciting, and we're really thrilled to be working with Belton ISD and really appreciate the great input and collaborative spirit of everybody we've been working with.
Well, one of the things we know from past experiences, everybody has an opinion, and they're all willing to share it, and that's a good thing.
It is.
That's about community, and that's what we want.
Right.
We want to solicit as much feedback and input as we can, so we can make community decisions, and so I'm glad that you all welcome that and encourage that.
It's
because
fun.
We're all about that. So, good stuff. Anybody have any other questions?
I guess what I gathered from the young lady who was talking to us about the schools and their mascots and different things, that almost seemed to me kind of like it would be nice for us to hurry up and make that decision.
Nice segue, Ty.
Good job.
Yes,
Yes.
that's the segue.
Really nice
So-
way to say hurry up.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Which segues to our next item. Are y'all,
We're done.
okay, thank you very much. And next item on our agenda is for Susan to Dr. Kincannon to talk to us about the process, proposed process for exactly that. They're telling us we need to do that. We need to be intentional about that. Obviously, it's something that's very important to our community and to all of us, so.
Okay.
Tell us what your thinking is.
So, I think Rachel's going to drive for me, but tonight we want to do that. We want to start a conversation with you about the name, the mascot, and the colors for our second comprehensive high school. And I think that the presentation from O'Connell Robertson showed how those elements, in particular color, could be integrated throughout the design process to create a learning environment that supports campus culture, and that's going to be important to us. So by starting the conversation now, we hope to reach a decision this fall when the name, colors, and mascot can still be integrated throughout the design of the new high school. I think next slide, there you go. Beyond simply making a selection, our goal is to create a process that is inclusive and engages the community throughout the decision-making progress. While we're not asking the board to take any formal action tonight, we're asking you to give us your feedback on the proposed selection process, and then we'll revise this accordingly based on your feedback. So we all know that Belton ISD is unique in many ways, and one thing that is especially unique for a district of our size is that from kindergarten through high school, regardless of what school.
Pre-K.
Pre-K, thank you for that correction. From pre-K through high school, regardless of what school a student attends, he or she is a tiger. And the school's colors are red and white, and that's unique to us. So the first question that we'll need to wrestle with is whether or not it's time to move away from a single mascot and set of colors. And that might have been the question that I was asked most often during the bond election process, and probably perhaps you as well. I see your heads nodding.
Yeah, we've talked about that at several meetings, that seemed to be, we weren't surprised that came up, but we might have been surprised how much it came up. We
What
got-
will the mascot
got a
be
lot
for
of
the new
feedback.
high school?
We kept talking
And
about it.
so that question is important to our community, and we want to make sure that the community has an opportunity to share their thoughts with you about it. For that reason, we're proposing multiple ways for people to give input, including both an online form and some in-person discussions. This is a very aggressive schedule, but we've tentatively identified 4 dates and times for facilitated discussions, and those are at 6 p.m. on August the 14th for a discussion with community members. That's a little hard to read, but I'll get that to you. 5 p.m. on August the 24th for a discussion with current high school students. 6 p.m. on August the 28th for a second discussion with community members. And then at 5 p.m. on August the 31st for a facilitated discussion with middle school students. Who will be, by the way, among the first students to attend the new high school. So this year's incoming 6th and 7th graders will be our first students to go to the new high school.
On the community members, is this invited community members or is it open to all community members?
This will be open, so let me speak to that just a little bit. All the sessions will be held here in the boardroom. They'll be posted as special board meetings. They'll be open to the public. And then we would promote those sessions via email and in our local media and social media and online to parents and community members.
Let me just add to that, and you know, because you were on the long-range facility planning, one of the things that we've historically done is post our meetings as board meetings, even though there's no action being taken, so that they are
Board.
publicized, and so all of us can be there. If we want to be. Not required, but since we're not taking any action, but that way everybody can be in attendance for listening, and there's no, so that it's communicated very clearly that this is open to all. It is not intended to be a blue ribbon select committee or invitation only kind of event. It is an open board meeting just like this meeting, and anybody are welcome to be there and participate in that process. So I think that's a healthy thing. That's worked really well for us in all of our previous planning. So I like that strategy, have always liked that strategy.
The goal is to be open and inclusive. However, I do want to point out that that's a pretty aggressive schedule for a large number of board meetings in a very compact
Right,
amount
it's a
of
busy
time.
August. I might also mention middle schoolers might not like too many of us hanging around listening to them talk. So we might need
Nor
to,
would high schoolers, but.
high schoolers might like it. No, they don't want it either, right?
Our goal for both the online form and for these sessions is to focus more on what the name, colors, and mascot should convey, such as strength, heritage, sense of place, etc., than on the specific options that each participant might like or dislike. So rather, we're not going to ask them to give us the exact thing that they'd like. Then we'd plan to review what the community has said at our board meeting in September. And then at that meeting, we would ask you to choose a general approach to the mascot and colors. Do we keep the same mascot and colors that we have now? Do we develop a mascot and colors that are differentiated from what we have now but still related in some way? Or do we develop a new mascot and colors? And then we will ask you to provide us some general guidance on the name of the school. Should it reflect a geography, honor a community leader, et cetera, at that time? We want to get your input on that. And then obviously how we proceed from there will depend in large part on the approach that you choose. If you decide to keep the same mascot and colors, we would only be developing options for the name. If you opt for a mascot and colors that are subtly or completely different, we would be developing options for those as well. In any case, we anticipate that we will seek additional community input and both your guidance and that feedback, develop some preliminary options for you to discuss in October. And then based on the discussion in October, we would revise the preliminary options and seek additional community input before asking you to make the final selection in November. So that's the process plan that we wanted to present to you this evening. I'd be interested on your thoughts. Be happy to talk about any questions that you have, and really want to know if this process, if you think this process will give you the information that you need to make a decision by November. It's a lot.
Well, again, I would just repeat what you already said and what we already said earlier. We've received a lot of feedback, all of us individually, collectively, in meetings and with groups of people, faculty, staff, students, parents, alumni, community members, in a variety of different settings. So I'm sure that we've all gotten lots and lots of feedback already, and that's relevant. And I don't want to say we're starting from scratch, because that's an important body of knowledge and feedback that we've received over the last at least 6 months, if not more.
February.
But since we called the election and really made the decision, going back to our planning process last year even, it came up during that process. So that's important, but this is, I think, a really good way of being very intentional, very purposeful, very intense month of August in soliciting feedback from everybody who wants to, who either already has and wants to again, or hasn't chosen to or had an opportunity to give input in a variety of ways. So I like the process. I think it's inclusive. And having said that, I also think there's no question that we're going to hear a gamut of feedback, as we already have. And so I don't know, I don't know what to expect out of that, other than we're going to hear a range of opinions. Just like I said, people have a lot of opinions and they're willing to share it, and that's a good thing. So we're going to be faced with choices, ultimately.
I would say this is a very passionate subject, and it's, at the end of it, we're going to include all of the community to give their input and all of these things, but ultimately a decision will have to be made. It's going to be based on best practices and research and a lot of good input and a lot of good thinking and brainstorming. But in the end, there's going to be a lot of people not happy. And so if you are in earshot, you need to make sure you're letting your friends and family know who live in this district that they can have input. This is not an exclusive meeting. Everybody can come and be a part of the process and see how the process works, which is a very important part of community involvement.
Right,
And I was TGO, so this is a huge, huge deal for me. And I'm going to be open to the process, whatever it is. So,
And was is once Tigo, always Tigo, right?
go big.
This is a big transition for our community, and we want to get lots of feedback and bring that back to you. And ultimately, it's the board. You all are, the decision is yours.
I think one of the questions I have, I mean, I see, we have the aggressive meetings there in August, but the fact is, even our biggest meetings, we don't have that many people show up. So I would assume that most of our input's probably going to come off of the online, just given the nature of how are we getting people to know about, is it going to be on the Facebook? I mean, how are we driving people to that online forum?
We will advertise that on Facebook and Twitter, and we'll run an ad in the paper. We held some community listening sessions, oh gosh, 2 or 3 years ago, and we ran some ads in the paper for the public. So we'll push out as much information as possible to push people to that online forum and to advertise those meetings.
Okay.
Great.
Is there going to be enough time between that September 8th deadline and the board meeting to put all that information together and get a?
I think so. I think it should be pretty straightforward, easy to compile.
I'll make a prediction that the feedback we've been getting for the last 6 months will be pretty similar to the feedback we're going to get for the next 2 months. And one thing is, our kids won't be near as concerned about it as the adults, right? And one of the things we've heard is the kids are resilient and they move on, but we worry about stuff a lot more. So it is ultimately a choice that we're going to have to make, and it's ultimately said it well. You know, it's just going to be, let's get input from as many people as we can and as much thoughts and ideas, and then we'll put all that together and come to our own conclusions and then work together to come to whatever conclusion we come to, and then we move forward and take care of our kiddos. So.
We can adjust this any way you want as we move forward. So this is just a beginning for us, and it's certainly fluid, and we have the ability.
Quite a way to
change
start
it.
school.
It sure is. I saw Sue feverishly writing those dates down. I'll get those to you so you have them on your calendar if this looks good to you.
Great.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you.
Y'all good with all that? Okay. Okay, just check in with you all. It's 5:41, and we told our students, and all being recognized, that we would do that at 6. So I'm thinking we'll just trudge on through and maybe take a brief break, or y'all are okay? We'll just trudge on through and then come back our recognitions at 6. We could do some of those. Let's see how far we get. I don't want to cut anybody off either. So let's go public comments. I didn't see anybody had signed up. Is anyone wishing to address the board? Hearing no takers, we'll move to the consent agenda. Any board members have any item they'd like pulled from the consent agenda for discussion? Let me identify those issues. We have the minutes of the June 19th, 2017 regular board meeting, the unaudited financial report for the month ending June 30th, 2017. We have the gifts, grants, and bequests. It's on page 47. There it is on the screen. This is not for action. This is just for informational. We certainly appreciate all of those donations, some very significant ones. Certainly the band boosters have raised quite a bit of money and are using that to promote the band program. Also very thankful for Indico's large donation and all of those. We're very appreciative of those and for you putting that into place, Dr. Kincannon. We have the supply, equipment, and service bids. We have awards, trophies, plaques, and related items, RFP 1705-743-163, and that is to approve the vendor list. And I didn't write down, hang on just a second. Let me make sure I get the dates right. Apologize. To approve the vendor contract effective August 1st, 2017 through July 31st, 2018 with 3 automatic renewals, 1 year at a time. We have several budget amendments. However, most of these are reclassifications, so don't impact the budget amounts. Let me identify those specifically. We have the Advanced Academics Budget Reclassification, Fund 199, Function 36 to 31, that's to reclassify $9,200 of expenditure. We have the Fine Arts Marching Band Reclassification, Fund 199, to reclassify $12,000 expenditure. Intervention to Testing Professional Development Reclassification, Fund 199, Function 11 to 21, to reclassify $1,500 in expenditure. We have the Football Playoff Officials Reclassification, Fund 199, Function 23 to 26, to reclassify $7,276.29 in expenditures. We have the year-end year-end revenue amendment, Fund 199. This is to amend the revenue, and it's significant to note that we're increasing the local and federal revenues by the same amount that we are decreasing the state revenues, $510,317. As local revenues go up, state and state go down. But it is also to decrease the TRS on behalf revenue and expenditure, $163,296. That's a pass-through, so it's on behalf. The state provides it and just passes through. So there's no net change to our revenue budget through all that. We have the Student-to-Student Summit Reclassification, Fund 199, Function 11 to 36, to reclassify $6,800 in expenditures. We have the Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone Number 1 Amendment, Fund 199, Function 97. This is to amend to increase the expenditure $180. And then we have the Bus Lease Amendment, Fund 199, Function 34, to increase the revenue and expenditure $317,588. This is in regard to the bus lease purchase that we approved back in February. Then we have the Tyler Technologies Bus Monitoring Software reclassification, Fund 199, Function 34. This is to reclassify $121,587 expenditure that we previously approved. And then we have the year-end salary reclassification, Fund 199. This is annually done to make sure that everybody's salary is actually classified in the proper code. But overall, it's to reclassify $838,586.41 of expenditure without any change to the budget. We have the property, school liability, and automobile insurance renewal to approval of the TASB property, school liability, and automobile insurance coverage for the 2017-18 school year for a premium of $387,921. We have the county extension agents as adjunct staff members. This is annual action we take on behalf of our students, as well as the resolution regarding the extracurricular status of 4-H organizations. And we have the memorandum of understanding and dual credit articulation agreements for Temple College and University of Texas of the Permian Basin. We're very appreciative of those organizations providing that opportunity for our students. And then finally, we have the changes to the elementary school attendance boundaries, specifically related to new development, new construction, new home developments in the Lakewood and High Point areas and Pirtle and Tarver areas. Small changes, but kind of cleanup. Should be noted that we'll be working on attendance boundaries for the entire district soon.
In about a year.
In about a year. That's pretty soon. Okay, that's the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve? Motion from Mr. Camden. Second from Mr. Norwood. All in favor of the motion, raise a hand. Passes unanimously. Thank you very much. You want to go, or
Sure.
we want to let Julie go? Which way you want to go? You can go.
I'll go quickly, and then
Okay.
we can let Julie.
Okay.
How's that?
Go quickly or not? We'll get to our recognitions.
Okay, I have 3 items for you this evening. Let me get to those. The first is our preliminary STAR data, and Rachel put that up for us. I wanted to share, maybe you could blow that up, Rachel, a little bit. And we'll get this to you as well. We did get our state testing data from TEA, the state results on Friday, July the 7th, and I'm happy to report that Belton ISD outperformed the state average in 21 of the 22 areas evaluated for 2017. In addition, our scores were at least 5 percentage points higher than the state in 17 out of 22 areas. And at first glance, it appears that we fell below the state average in 7th grade math, and that label is somewhat misleading. So when we're placing our 7th graders in the appropriate math class, we consider both their ability and the grade level. Our advanced 7th grade math students, about 40% of our 7th graders are placed in pre-AP math. And for the first time this year, was your son one of these students? Those advanced students took the 8th grade STAR math assessment instead of the 7th grade math STAR assessment. And that's a result of a new requirement that students demonstrate mastery of grade level text prior to being placed in a math course above their grade level. And that's a new state requirement that we're implementing. When the state notified us of that change in 2015, 2016, we reviewed our options. Districts were really scrambling to try to figure out how to address that. And we decided that our students would demonstrate mastery by either taking the 8th grade STAR or through a credit by exam, which is a rigorous assessment that we use for advancing students. And those materials for that exam come to us from the University of Texas at Austin. There were no rules for districts in regards to meeting the new requirement, and not all districts have chosen to have their students, their 7th grade students, take that 8th grade assessment. And we opted to do that because of the limited options that we believed that the state would accept, and so that was our plan. When you look specifically at the 306 7th graders who took the 8th grade STAR math assessment this year, 96% of those students passed the 8th grade assessment. And that's really excellent news. But it does have the effect of removing our advanced students grade from that pool that took the 7th grade math assessment. So the results aren't what they appear to be. If you combine the advanced 7th grade math students taking the 8th grade assessment with the rest of their peers taking the 7th grade assessment, it would certainly lift our 7th grade scores well above the state average. So all of that to say, we really did exceed the state averages in all 22 areas.
Can you scroll
that were
down?
evaluated,
Thank you.
if you consider that. Our students did very well, and we're pleased overall with the results. However, as you can see, and we've been talking about for a while, writing is still an area of focus for us, as it is for the state. And while we're pleased with these results, I also want to keep them in context. The STAR test scores are important, but they're still only one measure of our student success. And as a district, we've consistently adopted a more holistic definition of student success. And I think that we have just as much to celebrate when we adopt a broader view of our students and their academic performance. So we definitely want to keep these in context. And I'll get this to you as well.
This is fresh data, obviously. I wanted to get to the bottom to see the highlighted areas are performances 5 percentage
Yellow
points
is
higher.
5 percentage
There are
points
some in
above
there
the
that are like 17, 16% higher.
I-
There's some huge,
There are, and
I mean,
I'd
we're
like to
above in
point out
everything but-
that the 5th and 8th grade scores where you see those huge gaps, the state only released their first administration results, and those are our second
Okay.
administration results.
okay.
So there's a gap there while we're waiting on that final
I
data.
say, they're 15, 16, 18% difference. I mean, we expect to see our scores better than the state average, but those are,
Yeah, those were really high, and those
Exceptional.
fifth and eighth grade reading and math were the 2 areas or 4 areas where we don't have second administration. But 8th grade social studies you can see there was 10 percentage points above the state, and so our students
Wow.
are really outpacing the state averages there.
Back to what you were saying about the 7th grade math, if you
Hit
look
your
at the 8th grade math,
Mm-hmm.
thanks, Randy, where it's 16 percentage points above the state, are you saying that those 7th graders are in that
Correct,
90% there?
they are.
Okay.
so you could really
that
combine,
has an impact.
somehow
That
combine.
has an impact on the data as well.
Well, it's another way of saying, sometimes what you get from the state isn't really, the use of testing can be, the data from testing can be misused because you have to take the bigger
understand what
picture.
you're looking at. Moat Casey put out an article today. I haven't had an opportunity to read it and understand all of it, but a big article about comparing apples to oranges and how you have to really dig into the statistics to really understand the data. And so this is a very high-level look
Yeah,
at the all students category by subject and grade level. And so for us, beyond looking at this high level, then we begin to look at subgroups, and we'll look at campuses and
and
really
ultimately
understand what we
individual
have.
students, every individual student is what matters.
That's correct.
You know, we always say that this is just one test, one day, or maybe a retest, but it's one element. There's an overemphasis on these high-stakes testing and results, absolutely, nationally and statewide. And we've learned to expect them to be above state and to say, that's good, but that's not how we want to evaluate our students' achievement. But these scores are impressive and something we certainly need to be proud of and congratulate our students, our teachers, our administrators, and all of our support staff for working hard to help them succeed on this. It is significant. It's relevant because it is valued by the public and it's promoted, even though we know that it's just one small piece of how we evaluate students. So,
We're pleased.
good information. Will be interesting to see as we continue to develop that, and as you'll be bringing the more formal reports to us at a later time, but that's good to see.
Great.
We're on track.
We are on track. Okay, thank you. The next item is David Bennett's, I'm looking for David. There he is. Hi, David. David Bennett, he and his team, and Mike as well, have been working very hard this summer, particularly our facilities department, and we've had a lot of projects going on, so I wanted to share some of those with you. give you the opportunity to ask some questions, and if I don't know the answer, David is here to help. But here's the roof coping replacement project from the hail damage that we had at Chisholm Trail Elementary. You're familiar with that. It was about a $75,000 project, I believe. Some painting on the next slide there at Lakewood Elementary, refreshing those hallways. At Sparta Elementary, here's a floor replacement in the cafeteria. Some more painting at Miller Heights Elementary. It's 100% complete there. Here's backflow preventer that was installed at Belton High School. That's now complete. We've done some refinishing of all of our secondary gym floors. That's now 100% complete. We added additional bike racks at 6 of our schools this year. We have a lot of kids that need bike racks, and so David and his team have been adding those, and those bike racks were donated. Trying to remember who, David? Council of Governments? KTMPO donated those bike racks to us.
good.
So we're pleased to have those. The next project is the Sunshade Project at South Belton Middle School. If you were over there for the Public Schools Week events, you might have noticed that the shades inside the cafeteria we were struggling with those. And so this takes care of that problem, go all the way around that cafeteria area. I'm glad to see that done. And then finally, our Belton High School Roof Project B. And you can't see that from the street this summer like you could last year with the first part, but it's happening. And David says they're on track to finish that roof before school starts. So this is the second phase of a three-phase project. We'll complete the final phase of the roof replacement project at Belton High School next summer. And a lot of work being done there. And of course, they're doing fire inspections and all kinds of other routine things that we do in the summer. And I just want to tell David and his staff we appreciate them for the extra work that goes into the summer, into our facilities to make them look good and keep things running well for schools.
Good. Great. Lots going on.
Any questions on any of those projects? Probably could have put a few more in there, but those are the big ones. Back to school activities, finally. School starts on August the 21st, exactly 1 month from today, and on the date of our next regular meeting. And so it is coming fast. So I want to point out a few key dates and other information for you. New teachers will begin on August the 8th. And then all of our staff is back on August the 9th. You're welcome to join us for lunch with our new teachers on August the 8th. And that this year will be held at Chisholm Trail Elementary at 11:45. I'll send you an invite for that. And then on the 9th and 10th, Dr. Lovesmith and her staff are planning a 2-day professional development event that will be held at the 9 with lots of sessions for our staff that are focused on our priorities, and that will be a really big event for all of the teachers in the district. Convocation, it will be on the 15th at the Bell County Expo Center, and I'm really looking forward to this year's program, and I hope to be able to announce a few more details soon to you all. As we wrap up the summer, we're still registering students for next year. That's all done online, so our parents can conveniently register at home and then take the required documents to the campus at a time that's convenient for them, and that's been a really nice thing for our parents. And then Rachel's pulled up some of our summer events, back to school events for each of our campuses. We have 3 documents on the website, one for elementary, one for middle, and one for high school. So you can find information about open house, freshman focus, middle school tiger camps, and all those things that we do when school starts. And I understand the cross-country team started today and are running, and the band starts practices on Monday, and the kids are coming.
Here we go.
And we're about to start a new school year, so it's coming
Wow.
fast.
Lots coming.
You'll see more and more activity at the front of Belton High School, and that's always fun. Any questions about back to school? All righty, thank you.
Okay, we are going to take it's right at 6 o'clock. We're going to take a 4-minute break to reset, let all of our students get in here for recognitions. But while we're at it, the apples have been displayed. If you'd like to join me at the back table and snag an apple real quick, we can do that during the break. Let's see, I think we've got everybody in here and we're ready. Let me give some guidelines for those of you who haven't been with us previously for one of these. We want to recognize these students, and we're going to have you come up to the front. We have a certificate for you. One of the board members will present for you. We'll have you stand up here, and we're going to take lots of pictures because that's an important part of what we do. So pause, hold for pictures. Parents will be happy to take as many pictures as you'd like, and we want you to come up, and your students want you to come up. But before we get to our student recognitions, we're going to start with a recognition of a program that serves our students in a remarkable way. Jeanette Kelly, you want to come on up? We're going to talk about Project Apple Tree. This is an extraordinary program. Let her talk a little bit. Many, many years ago, what year is this? 17? Year 17. And Jeanette Kelly is one of our esteemed administrators, longtime principal of Lakewood Elementary, and a longtime former board member of this school district and servant of our community. And so we're so thankful that you're here to once again share with us the opportunity we have to partner together to serve our children in this community.
Well, thank you. I think this school district is just absolutely incredible, and I love to see those statistics that I just saw. I thought, oh, wow, they just get better and better and better. Yes, 17 years ago, when I retired from principaling at Lakewood, I started Project Apple Tree. And we've always known that teachers do everything they can to see that students have everything that they need, their supplies. But just think if you were that child, that little boy or that little girl, or that big boy or that little girl, and you didn't have what you needed to do the work that was required of you that day because you just didn't have the supplies. It may be a crayon or it may have been a calculator, whatever it was. And those around you knew that you didn't have it. And so your ego is already at the very bottom. And then you're expected to perform well. And so after being in the school system for as long as I have, I know how important it is. But I also know how much teachers do and staffs at school. They provide those things. And I always tell my doctor when I go to him and say, it's time for you to write a check for Apple Tree. And I said, you never furnish Band-Aids. You never furnish all these things that I need. I pay for them when I come in here. And I said, teachers are the only ones that do this that I know of. They provide for that child so that child will not be needy. And that's what this program is all about, to get them off to a great, great start. It is a ministry. We do it through Helping Hands. And if the parents qualify for free food, then they can register their children. And so we're very excited that every year we have way over 1,000 children. And this year, our numbers are a little bit down because we have many, many of our Hispanic parents who are afraid to leave their houses because of the immigration status to register their children. But let me tell you, those children are going to get on a bus and they're going to get to school to have breakfast and they're going to have lunch. But they're not going to be able to get their supplies. So we're going to have more need than we've ever had before for children to have what they need. And we're going to do our part through Apple Tree. And the school district is probably going to have to rise to that occasion too, because we know that that's happening all over the state of Texas. But what is so exciting is to see these children dressed in one new outfit. And so we ask you to buy a pair of blue jeans for each child. And the reason we say jeans and not a pretty cute pair of pink capris is because that child can wear those jeans day after day and nobody will know the difference. But if they wear those pink ones, then everybody around them will realize that they only have those pink pants to wear that are new. But it's so exciting to see. They get a new pair of shoes, they get a new pair of jeans, they get a shirt, They get their underwear and their socks. And then we have some community partners that come in and see that they get a great big bottle of shampoo, a bar of soap, a washcloth. And then the dental people come in and they see that every child gets an age-appropriate, size-appropriate toothbrush and toothpaste. So we do everything we can to see that they get off to the best start ever. And then, because it is a ministry, every single bag is prayed over many times by many different people. So we try to send them off with everything they need. And Randy has been a great promoter of this, and Susan has just been incredible. And I was so excited when she called and said, Jeanette, please come and present this. So now I'm going to say to you, even when the school board's meeting, you slip out there and pick another child or pick a child and let us sign them up. We'll do it quietly. I promise not to disturb. And many of you are new to me, but the most wonderful thing is you're going to be wonderful to our children in Belton ISD. Thank you for this opportunity. And let me tell you, there are donation jars all around town at restaurants and places. And I'm going to promote this Freddy's tomorrow evening between 5 and 8. Come and get a hamburger or a custard, and we're going to get a good percentage of their profits. So you don't have to cook, ladies, and you guys don't have to do dishes. Just come on by and help us that way. This is over $100,000 project. We have every church that we can participate with us, and other organizations and businesses.
Thank you. Mike has a certificate because we want to thank you again, and you and your army of volunteers.
Well,
But Sarah, come on, Sarah, come on up
I want you
too.
to accept this too.
But while y'all are getting your picture taken, you have to pose now. I want to make sure everybody understands what's unique about this program from most. You don't just take donations, you ask us to partner and participate. And that's really something special for our community, to come together and participate, get your apples. And it's so fun to be at Walmart or Target, wherever we are shopping, and see other people with their apples. And we're working together and part of our community. That's a great thing. So thank you for
Hold up your apples, demonstrate right
Thank
quickly.
you for equipping us to help our neighbors. There is a clothing, make sure I get this right, a clothing apple and a school apple, right? And then you get a bag to put all your stuff in
With
and return it. And with instructions, very important.
Thank you all for doing this. I detoured around UMHB this morning when I came through Main Street, and Jeanette, you were getting out of your car before 8 o'clock to work on the apple tree. So
Oh.
thank you. You guys are awesome.
All right, let's take a picture and say thank you to Jeanette and Sarah and their army of volunteers. All right, and I'll reiterate what Jeanette said. That table is back there. What we'd like is for the table to be empty before we leave here, so please pass by there, pick up an apple on your way. Don't feel like you're interrupting us while you do that. Kyle, you want to help us recognize some of our awesome students? We need to begin with our Skills USA National Leadership and Skills Conference participants. We sent 10 of our students to nationals, and they were awesome and impressive.
They were awesome and impressive indeed. And I'm really excited that tonight we get to start by recognizing our national champion Skills USA Teamworks team of Chloe Bush, Alan Harlow, Joseph Herman, and
Come on
Andres
up, guys.
Zapata.
Don't be shy.
The Teamworks event is an incredible challenge where they get the blueprints for a structure, have to build it to meet code. This year it was a basement
way do
kitchen
you want your
in
name spelled?
Chicago that they were building.
I know.
And
Texted, man.
while their coach, Greg
want you to know I
Sullivan,
got
isn't
that
able
one
to
and held
join
it.
us tonight because of a previous commitment, I am excited to note that we have a community partner in John Francis from MW Builders.
Come on up,
here to
John.
support them,
Come be up here.
and who really represents the partnerships that make our CTE program as successful as it is.
You know, that one of the, Craig Sullivan is not here. He's off on a boat somewhere. out playing, but one of the things that really makes this group especially unique and special is the community input, the partnerships with so many sponsors who helped them prepare and encouraged and supported. But these guys are awesome. They blew away a really impressive field, and I got to watch them, and they are amazing. They can build anything in a very short amount of time, and they impress everybody with not just their work, but their character and the way they handle themselves. Really impressive group. We're really proud of them. Congratulations, guys. So we have another group.
Absolutely. And I think what's really cool about this is just the second year that Belton High School has competed in chapter business procedure.
Chloe, don't leave.
They had some success at state last year. This year we're state champions, went to nationals, and finished in 4th place in the event. So we're excited to recognize the chapter business procedure team of Gabrielle Alvarado Perea, Heath Grace, Michaela Parker,
Gabe.
Haley Peace, Jordan Ross, and Jeffrey Trowell. They advanced to finals of the event.
And Karen Francis, their sponsor, coach.
There she is.
Come on up. Y'all come get your, come on up, Haley.
Just stand
You bet. Stand up here. We're going to get your picture together. Okay, so while they're all getting their, this is wonderful to have everybody together. So Karen, you're supposed to be in their picture with them. Board, I want you all to know, these young people know parliamentary procedure better than we do. They can make motions, amend motions, and it's amazing to watch. I learned from watching them a lot about parliamentary procedure, the kind of stuff that we do for our meetings. They know it very well. They have to take a test, a written test, and then they actually do a meeting, run a meeting, and they are extraordinary. Again, this is a group who achieved great things in what they did, but they also represented Belton in a wonderful way, and we're really proud of them and the work they did in Louisville. They're awesome. Great job, guys. Proud of you. Thank you, Karen.
Future board members.
That's right, and that's the move to approve group. Great job. All right, we've got one more. Let's go ahead and do our Congressional CTE Award winner because it's relevant.
This May, Congressman Carter presented or selected the first group of 5 students to receive his Congressional Achievement Award for outstanding students in career and technical education. And Chloe Bush, the electrician from our Teamworks team, was among those 5 honorees out of the entire 31st Congressional District.
All right, Chloe. All right, one more photo op. Another photo op here. Come on up here.
And
Come on, Leo. You can get in a picture with her.
the congressman described Chloe and her colleagues as exceptional examples of the promise of CTE.
There you go, Chloe. Great job. Your team ran out on you, but you got it. Good job. We're proud of you. She is an electrician extraordinaire. Congratulations. All right.
Bye.
Good job. Great things ahead for these young people. Kind of hate to see them all graduate, but you know, it's part of what we do. Send them off on their way. Okay, we had another kind of extraordinary experience with our Texas Boys and Girls State representatives.
Absolutely. We want to start by recognizing the 5 students who represented us at Boys State and Girls State this year. Garrett Van Smith and Alec Aramba represented us at Boys State.
Come on up.
And
Come on up, Garrett. Yep.
Rebecca Thomas, Emily Sanderford, and Sophia Wharton represented us at Girls State. And it's great to be represented by such a group of students to begin with, but beyond that, for the first time in the 77-year history of Boys State, a Belton student was elected as the governor of Texas Boys State.
Governor.
Garrett.
Yeah, how about that? Y'all crunch together. Come on. How about that?
And Garrett was selected to head to Boys Nation, which will be held in Washington, D.C. just a little bit later this month. And while both Chris Dubois and Joel Ross are traveling for professional development today and weren't able to be here, they both reached out to make sure that we pass along their
Hang on,
excitement
y'all don't leave.
as you head off to Boys Nation.
Okay, it's significant for all of you. You were selected and nominated to go and represent us at state. And that's a really big deal. But I also want to make sure we thank the American Legion Ladies Auxiliary Unit 55 for sponsoring our girls, and the American Legion for sponsoring the guys to go. That's a big deal. They make that happen for our students. Garrett, go be the president of the world. We expect great things from you. You're governor.
Or at least
Now, now take the governor of Texas and go be president at Boys Nation. That'd be awesome. We look forward to hearing about your experience there. Proud of y'all. Thank you all. All right, how about our Lady Tiger Golf State Qualifier?
Absolutely. We are excited to recognize sophomore Julia Garcia, who qualified for the state golf tournament, tying for second place at the regional tournament against 94 other golfers, qualifying with a two-day total of 149, and shot an impressive 151 over 2 days at the state tournament.
That is one awesome golfer. With some time ahead to keep doing great things, right? The next 2 years, great things are coming, right? Yes. All right. We're going to see some medals coming out of state, right? It's going to be awesome.
And I will say, no one practices more than she does.
Is that right? Okay.
Yes.
Practice results in that. Well, we also have some Texas Girls Coaches Association all-state softball players.
Absolutely. We're excited to recognize 3 Lady Tigers who were selected for the Texas Girls Coaches
Come on up,
Association
girls.
all-state team. Outfielder Avery Drake, catcher Bethany Edwards, and first baseman Kaylee Robinson. And in addition to the selection for that team, Bethany was a first-team selection for the Texas Sports Writers Association All-State team. Avery was a third-team selection, and Kaylee received an honorable mention from the Texas Sports Writers Association for that.
That is awesome. We're certainly appreciative of our local sports writers for helping get the stats and all in, but y'all earned this. Great job. Had a great year, a lot of fun. And you're all staters. That's pretty cool. Congratulations. Okay, how about, what's next? Oh, we're going to recognize our Texas Association of School Business Officers TASBO certifications, our employees.
Across the district, our employees have a commitment to
certificate.
ongoing professional development. And in our business office, Deanna Clavel was recently designated as a certified Texas School Business Specialist by TASBO. Phil
Come on
Haggerty
up and take a
was
picture. Deanna and Phil.
designated as a registered Texas School Business Administrator, the latter being the highest level of certification that the association offers.
All right, we're going to make you come up front. These are people who work behind the scenes most of the time, taking care of our finances, but for your extra efforts to get that certification and go through that process, you're to be commended. And so thank you for that. We don't have a certificate for you, but that's okay. We'll take your picture because we want to brag on you a little bit. So let's get y'all hook up together and we'll be amazed. TASBO certifications. Smile. Their business office, folks. All right, congratulations. I don't know what they were looking at, but apparently weren't. Okay, and we have a 2016 Educational Results Partnership Honor Roll Star School.
Absolutely.
Say that right?
Each year, Educational Results Partnership and the Institute for Productivity and Education, 2 national education nonprofits, work to identify schools that improve outcomes for students and in particular include grade level proficiency for significant populations of socioeconomically disadvantaged students. We're excited that Sparta Elementary was included on their most recent list, which is the 2016 Texas Honor Roll. And Julie Manley's traveling for professional development today, but we wanted to take a moment to recognize.
Well, there you go. Anybody want to represent Sparta? Julie's off. It's July. There you go. Good job, Mike. All right. So before we get to our last one, I want to mention a couple of others. I wanted to thank Robert Atmar and our transportation department for making the 4th of July parade entries so great. They did a great job, as well as our students who were in there. We had students, multiple entries. But Sue, thank you for representing us in the transportation and riding the parade. It was fun to see everybody go back.
Every seat was filled.
That was great. We packed them in, didn't we?
Yes.
That was wonderful to see so many people. And also wanted to just make sure everybody is aware, we have, our website's been going through an upgrade, and Colin and his staff, particularly Robert Pryor, and I want to make sure you all know, Robert took our picture earlier, but Robert's been working, I understand, quite a bit on that website, so thank you very much. It's increasingly user-friendly, and that's the attempt to make information more readily accessible. So thank you for your work on that. Welcome. We appreciate what you're doing to help our community know about what's going on in our school district. So lastly, we want to recognize our Big Red community partner, Belton Education Enrichment Foundation, and we're going to segue from this right to their report. So
We are blessed to be supported by a wide range of community organizations, and every month we recognize some incredible things that people in the community are doing for our students and our schools. But really, BEEF is incredibly unique in that it is the one organization whose sole mission is to enhance the quality of education for Belton ISD students. They do that through grants for classroom teachers, support for paraprofessionals seeking to continue their education, and tremendous support for our graduates pursuing careers or steps that lead to a career after they leave our high school.
we are so appreciative of the work you're doing, and so rather than us talking about that anymore, we're going to let you tell us about it. But thank you on behalf of us and all of the people you represent for doing great things for our students. So why don't you tell us about that?
Again, if you don't know me, I'm Julie Bryan, and I'm the president of the Belton Educational Enrichment Foundation. First of all, I want to thank you guys for having me here, and likewise want to thank the district for y'all's support of the foundation. I think it's a really great partnership that we work together and really try to help these kids. So a little bit about Belton Educational Enrichment Foundation, in case you don't know. It's founded in 1992 to enhance the quality of education for all students in the BISD district. Our mission is we award grants to teachers and paraprofessionals, and by awarding scholarships to graduating seniors. We currently have 30 board directors who work tirelessly throughout the year to engage in our community and try to engage the community in support of our mission. We currently have over $1.3 million in assets. Mostly it's primarily comprised of donor-invested funds. So those are donors that will invest large amounts of money that we give yearly scholarships out of. These are our current board of directors. Emmanuel Alcozer, Andy Bass, Brian Borkart, Julie Bryan, Ann Clements, Brooke Morrow, Carrie Pearson, Christine Rahm, Wendy Fitzwater, Rosie Montgomery, Sue Grovender, Raymond Jimenez, Susan Kolodziejczyk, Kent Lester, Melanie McCarthy, Vivian Baker, David Orsag, Joe Pirtle, Randy Pittenger, Joshua Knowles, Nancy Bonner, Courtney Kruger, Robert Jones, Jordan Seidemann, Alan Testrote, Danny Vila, Susan Kincannon, Scott James, Stuart Masters, and Estella Murray. So I want to thank them as well for all their hard work they put in throughout the year. So some things that went on in 2017, to come, the teacher grants we'll do in in December. That's part of the prize patrol where we award the grants and surprise teachers and paraprofessionals. We did scholarships in May. We were both at New Tech and Belton High School. We had the golf tournament in March this year. It's typically done in the summer, but with the changes at Wallflower and the golf course improvements, we moved it to March, and I actually think that we had a lot of good reception from having it earlier in the spring. The weather was definitely cooler. And we're about to start the employee campaign, which has always been very successful in engaging the employees of the district to help in the foundation. We will also be having our red carpet event, which is our major fundraiser, on October 10th at 10 Rock Ranch. So mark your calendars for that. We'll be getting more information out on that, but that's a good opportunity for the community to hear more about the foundation and what we do and our goals and missions. So to see some of the growth that we have in the foundation, in 2016, we awarded over $170,000 to 150 seniors. In 2017, in May, we awarded Belton High Schools over $213,000. At BHS ceremony, we gave $167,050 to 126 scholarships, and Belton New Tech High School at Wasco received $46,750 for 28 scholarships.
That's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. And it's great to get to see come to fruition a lot of the work that we do. Those kids really get excited, and it's definitely fun to watch.
Great.
Got a few pictures, smiling faces. I think I'm probably stole some of these from Randy.
Money, money, money.
To recap, we had the Belton High School Awards on May 18th at the PAC, and New Tech's was May 23rd at South Belton Middle School. Also, this year, we did a little something different. Superintendent Scholar Program was April 19th at Harris Community Center. And through a generous donation from one of our donors, we were able to give 6 $5,000 scholarships to the top 6 students earning the highest National Merit Index score. So talk a little bit more about some of that later, but we're really trying to help partner with Dr. Kincannon and the district on making that a really cool program. So.
Yeah, I want to thank you for that, Julie. I mentioned to the executive committee how excited I was about beefing up that program. And they took it and ran with it and secured a donor to give the money for that particular program, and we thank you for that.
More pictures. Ann Utley and Dr. Kincannon. Utley Education Foundation is a great donor every year. Some award recipients at Belton New Tech High School at Wasco. Drs. Dudley and Vivian Baker. Dr. Vivian Baker's on the board with us. A little bit more about the golf tournament. We raised over $25,000 this year. And also, Alan Testrout, who was our chair, decided to add a tennis tournament with it. She's a tennis girl, and we had lots of great new participants, and it was really cool because golf tournaments, you can only grow them so much, only so many people can play, but that was a cool way to get more people involved, and I think it was really successful. So we'll definitely be doing that again next year. Golf tournament winners, our first-year tennis participants.
They were fun, enthusiastic.
And this is last year's prize patrol.
It was cold. Remember when it was cold? A throwback.
High Point, we had several recipients at High Point. This is what they call the Lego Learning Experience at Sparta Elementary. Board member Raymond Jimenez, he's checking in on grant recipients. One thing we're really going to try to do and invest in is getting back into the schools in the spring after the teachers and students have had an opportunity to use the products and the technology that they get through the grants. And it was really cool for a lot of the board members to go back and see the excitement with the kids. We're hoping, too, that will help us in deciding which items will be good in future grants to see how engaged the kids are and the teachers are as well. Got some great new things happening with the foundation. We went online with a scholarship application all through an online portal this year. Had some growing pains and things that we're trying to figure out, but we think that this will really prove to streamline the process and provide a better access to our students and our donors. It's something that we're looking forward to, and I think it'll grow every year, is getting easier for our students. Of course, we're always looking at different ways to engage donors and keep them informed about what we're doing at the foundation. and a little bit what we said earlier about the partnership with the district for the Superintendent Scholar Program. We're going to work on additional funding to enhance that program. We're hoping to help supplement the district and aids for test preparation, college visits, and academic lectures. We want to give our students the best opportunities to perform and get excited about their post-secondary education. And we hope to engage students in the learning experience to develop, prepare, and build on the vision of their future. So hopefully that will pan out the way we're wanting it to. And we appreciate Dr. Kincaid when we talked to you and kind of wanted some ideas about other ways that the foundation could help. She jumped on that, and it's been fun engaging in that and partnering in that, and hopefully we can see a lot going on. And as we've heard about the district growing and things happening, we're hopeful that we can continue to grow with the district and increase the ways that we can help. So, y'all have any questions?
What's next?
They have all of our my information, so if y'all have questions or
Great.
think of different ways that we can help the district, we're more than happy to.
Thank you, Julie, and again, thank you to you, and please pass on our appreciation to the Beef Board. A great group of volunteers have done extraordinary work this year. It just seems to get better every year, so great things are happening. Thank you for supporting
Thank
our
y'all.
kiddos. Hey, I want to, before we get too far away from recognitions, I want to make sure Paul Sanford, another former board member, is in the audience, and it's always good to have our former board members come back and visit, because it seems like people get off the board and leave and don't want to come back, just hang out with us. So we're good to have you back as a dad. All right, you'll keep coming back as a dad because, you know, you need to. You'll have more opportunities, I'm sure. Paul, we appreciate you being here. Okay, I think we're done with all of our recognitions. Is that right? Did I miss anybody? We're good? Okay, thank you all for coming. We're going to move on to the next part of our agenda, and that is our Human Resources Report. Mr. Schiller, thank you all for joining us. There's some really cool stuff coming if y'all want to stay, but we understand if you want to. There's some really exciting things coming up here.
Yes, there is. And we have recommending tonight Becky Vaughn as Pardo Principal.
Should we bring Becky Vaughn up to
Come
the
on
front?
up, Becky
Yes, I think we
Vaughn.
should. Come talk about her a little bit for
Yeah,
us.
I want to talk.
Sorry.
I want to talk about Becky. We're recommending her this evening as
on.
the principal at Pirtle Elementary, beginning in the fall. Actually, she's probably already started getting her hands in there and learning. But she has been with us for just 1 year. She came to us last year from Leander ISD. She took on a split assistant principal's position. She shared between Lakewood Elementary and Chisholm Trail Elementary. And I heard more about Becky in 1 year than I often do. And she made a big impact and earned the respect of a lot of people in our school district. And so we're really proud of her. She has a master's degree in educational administration from Lamar University, and she has a bachelor's degree from the University of Mary Hardin-Baylor. And she'll be starting her 17th year in education this year, and she has taught at the elementary level. She's been an instructional coach and an assistant principal. And we're very impressed with Becky's commitment to learning and the positivity that she brings to the role. And so appreciate her this evening, and I'm happy to make that recommendation.
We appreciate your willingness to take on a new challenge and move on up. You obviously have made a very strong impression in our community and in our school district, so thank you for that. Thank you for your work.
This has been such a fantastic district, and I just appreciate the opportunity to continue to serve, and I look forward to many more great years.
Great. Look forward to what you bring. Pirtle's one of our great schools, and we're so proud of the students and staff there, and look forward to what you will bring to help them continue to excel. So thank you for taking up the challenge. Appreciate you. All right, Todd, what else?
We have 28 total recommendations that are on the list tonight, and there are 5 of those that are former Belton High School graduates.
Is that right? Good. Growing our
Patrick
own.
Dolan,
That's
Julia
wonderful.
Potts, Lily Sandiford, Catherine Seeger, and Eva Soda.
Wait a minute. Run through those again. I want to make sure.
Patrick Dolan,
Okay?
Julia Potts,
Julia?
Lily Sandiford, Catherine Seeger,
Okay?
and Eva Soda Ramos.
Great. That's wonderful.
Again, there's 28 total recommendations. We have 16 open positions right now.
We don't have any other ones present tonight, do we? Okay.
And about 9 of those 16 we're like that close on. We're working on
Okay,
certification.
so we're getting close to filling up our staff for the year, and
Be ready for 17, 18, yes, sir.
had some moving around, and I guess with Becky's move, now we've opened a position up, right?
That's correct.
So
Domino.
some of those dominoes will fall into place as you continue to work that out in the next few weeks.
Yes, sir.
Great. All right, does anybody have any questions? Is there a motion to approve? Motion from Mr. Cowan? Anybody want to make a second? Leo, thank you. You were being subtle there. Second from Mr. Camden. Any other questions or comments? All in favor of the motion, raise a hand. Passes unanimously. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Look forward to great things. We'll welcome all those folks. Okay, our next item is to consider the resolution affirming the teaching of moral values and ethical standards for 27-18. This is something we've had for many years, although special thanks to Kyle for helping kind of rework some of the language to update it. We've been talking about that for a while. This is something that's important to our community and for our school district, and so I'm glad that we have continued to do this and help communicate from the board our expectations throughout our school district and our community. So we have that. Can you pull up that resolution? I think the next page. It's great. We won't read it since we've seen it before, but there it is. Motion to approve. Mr. Cowan, second. For Ms. Jordan. I mean, y'all are all looking like you know, but you're being subtle about who's making motions. Y'all are messing with me tonight, aren't you? Okay, any other comments or questions? Glad y'all are here. All in favor of the motion, raise a hand. That passes unanimously again and again. We've used this for many years as a guiding light, and we include this in our handbooks and all over so that people understand how important that is. We'll make sure everybody has a chance to sign the original document so that that can go into the packet. Okay, so the next item is to talk about selling our bonds. And I'm not going to read all of that item, but Jennifer Ritter is with us. Jennifer, bring us some really good news or help us understand what we have. I might just mention, are you getting there? This is hot off the presses, current information as of this afternoon, and so we have a printed copy, and I suppose, and it'll be up on the screen, but if you can't read the small print anyway. So Jennifer, thank you for being here.
Thank you all, and also I haven't seen all of you since the election, so congratulations. You get the fun part now of building the schools and working for the community, so we're happy to be able to help. I also want to recognize Glenn Opal from Bracewell Giuliani, your bond attorney. We'll bring him up here in a moment to talk about the action before you. But also your underwriter on this transaction, Cal Cottrell from JP Morgan, made the trip down from Dallas just to say hello.
Thank you for being here.
Is available to answer any market questions should we have them.
Hey.
So,
Yeah.
hot off the presses, as you said, you received your certified values today, and Deanna sent those, so we have updated the tax rate impact with the actual values that we'll be using. So this is just a reminder of where we started. We looked at a couple of assumptions, just to remind everyone, the top two I won't go into too much information about, that's kind of inside baseball for your staff. But we assumed a 2.5% growth in the tax base of the district. And we also assumed that we would sell in 2 series. This was based purely off of capacity. The first series would be this year, $100 million. We were assuming a 4.24% interest rate for a 30-year term. And then following up again when we had the ability in 2 years in terms of capacity to come back without any increase for the remainder of about just under $50 million. And based on those assumptions, what we were working with before, we were telling the voters about an 18.69 cent increase is what we were anticipating. And as the board president reminded me, we're always too high. So a lot of pressure.
And that's good. And we always want to be conservative with our estimates.
Yep.
And I think it's important to remind us that over the year we've been working on their years, we've had several models, and you would bring us a revised model and updated. And so this was a model of some examples that we might use just for planning purposes.
That's right. And it's a moving target. And as we always kept saying, you know, we started this 3 years ago.
Right.
And we had no idea what interest rates would be today or what the growth would be in the community in terms of the tax base. So it was our best guesstimate. In terms of interest rates, we always like to go over where we are. This is, again, a 10-year history of municipal bonds. We're on the far right-hand side of that blue mountain peak-looking line. As you can see, just by eyeballing it, we're at a pretty good level in terms of the 10-year history here. We had a pretty good dip last year, and then after the election in November, things went a little bit haywire, and we've been coming down slowly, but that just kind of goes to show that interest rates go up very fast and they come down pretty slowly. So where we are today, interest rates have been higher, according to that box in the upper right-hand corner. Interest rates have been higher about 85% of the time in the past 10 years than they are today. So we're selling it at 15% of
Those are good
lowest.
odds.
Yeah, those are good rates.
I mean, in an ideal world, in hindsight, we'd have done this a year ago, right? But who could have ever
Of
known
course,
you
yeah.
could
In
time it?
hindsight, we would,
What does every financial planner say? You can't time the market. You
right,
just
well, I think what they say
plan
too
it.
is if they had a crystal ball, they wouldn't be working.
Exactly. Everybody'd be on a beach somewhere.
Yeah, that's right. We'd be rolling around in our money. Okay, so a couple of different things. What the action before you that Glenn Opal will discuss, you're authorizing through the delegation method, which is what we've used for the refundings. We also used it for the last bonds that we sold back in 2012. And just as a reminder for the community and for some new board members, what that means is we're not going to wait until your next board meeting date to price. You're giving the authority tonight, should you decide to do so, for us to move forward if we hit the parameters that you outlined for us. And then what will happen is your superintendent and your assistant superintendent, Mr. Haggerty, will price on your behalf. So that way, we don't have to come back to your board meeting date. We can go out and we can price when we think is the best day in the market. The other thing that we're up against is, although we don't necessarily expect you to get any additional existing debt allotment because you are capped out, should your values continue to increase and your enrollment go down, you become more property wealthy, you might be able to see a little bit more of an increase. We are, though, selling as if we could receive more EDA. That just means for the next 2 years we're eligible should something change within the formula. So to do that, to make sure that you qualify for the next biennium up until 2019 for additional state funds, should you be eligible for them, we have to not only sell but have a payment prior to August 31st. So we're rushing a little bit to get this in to make sure we can take advantage of all the additional monies that may be available to Belton. Does that make sense? Yes, sir?
So walk us through a little bit of the payment and the tax implications. You might be going to get to this.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that.
And when those fall out. So you said a payment has to come before August.
Prior to 8/31, it'll be a tiny payment, so it'll be, less than 100,000. Well, that doesn't sound tiny when I say it, but it'll probably be in the neighborhood of, say, $10,000 or so.
Okay.
For that first payment, we're going to use fund balance to pay for it. So the voters actually won't see any increase in terms of their taxes until next January.
So this
So
is
you will
this is
publish
an
a tax rate
important
to include this.
Right. This is I'm sorry.
You will publish your tax rate once you now have the certified values. We will include an estimated, payment on the new bonds, and then, of course, once we have the actual interest rates, you'll certify that and correct it to what it'll actually be. So when the tax, bills go out next year, this new payment will be included.
Next year,
Next year.
not this year.
No, not this year.
Right. Because the payment we'll make for this year is
As small, it's going to come out of
Small.
fund balance.
in order to make it.
And we didn't know, obviously, last year when you levied your tax to include anything. Of course, you couldn't do that because you hadn't passed a bond. So we have a couple of different options. We're going to ask you tonight to authorize the full amount, the $149.7 million. But within that, you have some options. Again, we went out and we told the voters that tax impact would be not to exceed 18.69 cents for the full package, for the full $149,700,000. But we were assuming, just to recap again, a 4.24% interest rate and 2.5% growth. Now, this is hard to see, probably easier on your stations there, but I'll just point out for the group a couple of things that have changed. One, the interest rate's lower. If we were to sell today instead of that 4.25, we'd be selling at about a 3.91%. So, 30 basis points better. It's not huge, but certainly better.
Significant, though.
Significant. But the big change, instead of having a 2.5% growth rate in your tax base, after we go with the freeze adjusted, that means we're taking out everyone over 65. After the freeze adjustment, we're actually at 8% growth in the tax base. So that makes a big difference
So that's we just got our final
today.
results today, and that's really significant. We had preliminary, but they were released this afternoon, and really good news, they have 8%. And we see all this growth, new construction going up. This is the actual results of that. 8% is well above
Well above.
what
2.5
we've been
that we
averaging and
predicted.
well above the 2.5, which has an impact, which is why we're building new schools, by the way.
That's right. Yeah, good point. You know, you got the growth coming, so obviously you need to find a way to pay for it. But again, we obviously estimate conservatively, but we came in well above what we thought. And what that means ultimately is that we can borrow more for less impact in terms of tax rate. That's how this all boils down to. And it doesn't mean that individual taxpayers will be paying more. What it means is that everybody's shares, because their values have gone up either through reappraisals or through the actual new growth within the community. So new people who have moved to Belton ISD will also be paying for this. So that 8% makes a big impact going forward in these assumptions. We haven't assumed 8% every year. We're going back to 2.5% because we don't know what's going to happen in the next 30 years. So we're still being conservative.
But our most recent history is averaged about 4.5 to 5%.
That's right. And we could,
So
you
we
could look
we
at it
know
and
that
see
that's
what
a
it means.
conservative estimate going forward.
Exactly, yeah. So we have a couple of different options. Again, we're going to ask you to authorize the full 149.7, but this first scenario here shows what we've been looking at all along. We issue $100 million this year, and then we come back in 2 years, and we issue the remaining 49.7. So instead of the 18.69 cents, that gets us, if you look at the far right-hand column, to 16.08 cents. So a pretty significant drop in terms of what we had been looking at, but a little bit more than 2.5 cents better. To kind of get you a different perspective and say, well, you know, we can maybe borrow more for what we told the voters, let's look at another option here, which would be to take the 100 million and then split the difference between the 49.7, put half of it in this year and half of it in 2019. That would come up to a total of 124.85 million issued this year. The remainder, again, issued in 2019. That gets us to a tax rate of 1632. So it's still a pretty good chunk less than what we told the voters.
2.5 cents below, right?
Yeah, than what we told the voters for the, you know, the whole package there. And then the last one is if we were to go ahead and we have the capacity to issue the full 149.7 today, lock it all in at current interest rates and see what that does. That brings us to 18.63 cents. So no issue in 2019. We're doing all of it in 17. So you have a few options. Again, you're going to be deferring decisions to your superintendent and your assistant superintendent, but we would like to know a general thought of the board and direction, because tomorrow what will happen, we'll be publishing the preliminary official statement. It'll have the amount that we intend to sell. It doesn't mean you can't change it. We're intending to price next Tuesday, but we would like to have your thoughts on where you may want to go.
So Jennifer, obviously what we all want is the lowest ultimate cost to our taxpayers. The problem is we have to guess the market to some degree. So we either say, well, we know what it is now versus what it will be in 2 years. So how do you know, that it seems to be it's just a guess at this point of whether you're better to get it now because it might get worse later, or to know it could be better in theory. You just don't
That's right.
know. There are some things we know, but most of it we just don't know.
It could be worse or it could be better. So things to think about, reasons why you might want to do more than the 100 million this time. The big reason behind it would simply be that we believe interest rates have a likelihood of going up in the next 2 years. They may go down, of course, but if they go up, it's a lot more painful than if they go down. So the benefit of doing more than the 100 million would be that we lock in that tax impact to the voters. Once we sell these bonds, everything else, like you said, has been a moving target, but once we sell, we know what the tax impact is. So we're taking away a good deal of uncertainty by selling more than 100 million, and that could either be the meet in the middle, 124 or even 130 if you wanted to go there, or all the way up to the 1.497 or 149.7. So that would be the option of those. A drawback to that is interest rates could go down. I mean, the Fed has already telegraphed they intend to keep raising interest rates, so that seems unlikely. But certainly they could go down. And then the other thing is, if you can't spend all of that money within 3 years, you are telling the IRS you intend to spend it. My understanding is that you intend to spend it within 3 years, so that's not much of a concern. But the moment that we draw that down or close on this bond issue, you start paying interest back. So if it's sitting in the bank and you're not spending it, it doesn't become super efficient to do that. All that said, I know that in your numbers, you do have some contingency amounts. You know, if we were being asked to make a recommendation, I'd probably say we certainly want to keep with our practice of being lower to the voters than what we've told them in the past. That's why I wouldn't say go for the whole, 149.7. But that middle option to me is very appealing. It still leaves a good chunk out there. If for some reason you don't need it because it was contingency, you don't have to sell the rest of it. You could sell a portion of it, or none of it, or all of it, whatever you chose to do. But then we've also locked in an additional $24 million and taken away the uncertainty that if there is a huge spike in interest rates, the tax plan out of Congress and the president could lower tax rates on high earners, which would make your bond yield go up because they're tax exempt. So we have a lot more negatives coming down the pike than we do positives in terms of where interest rates might go, but that just takes away a lot of uncertainty.
So that extra 25 million, there's some risk, but really.
You're splitting the risk in half,
what
right?
I'm hearing you, though, saying the risk is higher to defer it. It would, the risks of it going up are worse than the risks of it going down.
I mean, that's our professional opinion, is that typically rates are going to go up before they go down. I mean, we're still at a place where rates have been higher than they are 85% of the time. And typically what we see as well, I mean, we're obviously conservative with our numbers, but oftentimes we'll see in similar situations, you vote an amount and maybe you intended to do it in phases and then it turns out because of projections being better than expected, a lot of times districts will go out and sell more to lock in and remove their uncertainty. So this is certainly not an unusual situation to be in because you have good news.
So, and that's, looking over what you've said here, if we did say the middle, the 124, 125 million, we're basically locking in 83% of the total at a much lower rate than we thought we would ever be able, that we projected we'd get it at. And we're still risking a little bit of it out there, roughly 17%, that it could go up or down. But even if it goes up, most of it is still at a much lower rate than where we thought we
And
would.
we're 2.5 cents below what we
Right.
projected
But if
as a tax impact.
Yeah. I mean, we're not risking as much by
Right.
doing that.
What was our
Minimizing the
contingency?
risk.
What was our contingency on the two projects? Or the four projects?
Ooh, I don't
You know what
remember total
contingency-
contingency.
10 million, 15 million, something? Yeah.
10 or 15.
10 or 15.
or more.
There's some inflation contingency and some others that I think they've, I don't know. But holding some of that, we don't need all that money right now. That was why. That's the other
right.
part.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like, though, we can get that 25 million without a real negative impact on our tax impact, a cost to us.
Yeah.
And minimize our risk.
I mean, the
which is a
difference
positive.
between the two, between the 100 and the 124 million is pretty insignificant in terms of the tax rate impact.
But it minimizes risk. It lowers the
minimizes
risk
risk.
significantly.
That's right. So if we're leaving approximately 50 million out there and interest rates were to double for some reason, we might not be able to fund this entire project under the projections that we had told the voters. So that's always the risk, is that something happens in 2 years and all of a sudden we're staring down a really negative situation where we're having to come back to the voters and ask for, forgiveness, essentially. And in this case,
And we don't want to do that.
we've locked most of it up. Like you said, I didn't do the percentage, but
We've
83%
historically
up.
been able to come in under.
That's right.
And
That's
that's
the
worked
goal.
well for us. We
Stay below.
fully expect to do that. You mentioned earlier Kyle would be a resource. Can we?
Sure.
Kyle, tell us while you're, come on up, because I'd like you to tell us your perspective as an underwriter, but I'd also be curious for you to give us a little feedback on our bond rating and how that process went for us, if you can. You know that, or does Jennifer need to do that? Sorry, put you on the spot there, huh?
No, for the record, my name's Kyle Cottrell, JP Morgan. Certainly appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. And so to address a number of your questions, in terms of locking in a cost of finance, for an entire bond program or tranching it out to sort of dollar cost average into the market, I think, at the end of the day, it comes down to a sort of a philosophical approach of the board. So in opportunities where you can lock in a cost of finance where there seems to be sort of asymmetrical interest rate risk with a likelihood that interest rates trend higher as the Fed starts to increase rate, or continue rather, increasing rates to the short end of the curve at the same time that they're unwinding their balance sheet of securities they've taken on as part of quantitative easing. I think there certainly is something to be said for locking in a cost of finance, but again, it's a philosophical decision with the board, and I think Jennifer certainly raised a handful of very good points.
Okay.
Earlier, she was sort of analyzing the situation.
So are we an attractive to buyers?
Absolutely, absolutely. You have your ratings, your underlying ratings are AA minus from S&P, and you recently received AA ratings from Fitch as well.
That's
So
really
certainly
good.
Congratulations on that.
Yeah,
That's an accomplishment.
that's actually, may give some kudos to our business office and Phil, and Deanna, no?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, but in addition to your underlying ratings, just as you know, school districts, when they issue bonds in the state of Texas, eligible projects are enhanced by the PSF program. And so in addition to your AA minus, AA ratings from S&P and Fitch, you also receive, on an enhanced basis, you're viewed as a AAA credit, which is certainly an attractive, an added layer of protection to investors, so certainly an attractive investment vehicle for, property and casualty insurers and various types of bond funds and asset managers.
Great. Anybody else have any questions? Jennifer, I'm kind of hearing recommendation is that middle ground somewhere in the 125.
I like middle
Makes
ground in
sense.
general. I think
It-
middle of
it-
the road's a good place to be.
It minimizes our risk while locking in a known that is well below what we anticipated, and that's good news. That sounds to me like a win-win from our perspective. I
It's
mean, things
only-
could change in a week,
Yeah.
but not likely to.
It's not really a noticeable tax differential between the two either. One's 1632 for the middle of the road versus 1608 for the lower amount. So I don't think most homeowners would notice the difference, quite frankly.
But they'll notice if we
If you go the other
delay
way,
and
absolutely.
it changes. That's
Yeah.
what I'm,
Yeah, so it just seems like
Locking in
for the money, it's a good deal.
Why is the difference so much more when you add 24 million to it? You get 1632, and then when you add another 24, it's 1863.
It's this- yeah.
Why is that?
It's the structuring. So we're trying to structure around that first payment.
Okay.
And in the other scenarios, we're able to defer more principal. If you kind of look at the structure of it, you can see they're not level at all.
Okay.
So because of the larger amount, we're not able to really defer principal in that first year. So it's the first year that's a holdup, and then it drops thereafter with the larger full issuance scenario. Very good point, by the way.
What's the maximum amount we can get to that and take that benefit?
that's a good question. Where's
I
the
mean,
cutoff?
Where's the cutoff? Where's the magic numbers at 20 million?
Oh, between the two, between the.
Between the two, 1632 and
Is 125 the number?
Yeah, and we'd also, even earlier, based on Mr. Haggerty's question, we'd run 130 million, and that was just a little bit extra too, so that was still on that sweet spot. And the other thing is too, even if you wanted to do the 149.7, you have fund balance in your INS account that you could kind of buy down that first year, but then you're spending the fund balance, and we don't know if that's going to be around forever.
Right.
So ideally, we'd
And
like
there's
for
a
you
lot
to
of
keep
money
that
in the
fund
bank.
balance for down the road. But 125 to 130, we're all in
Breaking
there.
into two payments is what's causing the interest rate hike.
Well,
or
actually being able to
savings.
break it into two,
No.
yeah, the savings, that's right.
The savings.
So
That's
we
right.
can, if we kept that, if we dropped that last to 10 or 15 million, can we still see those savings?
If you're trying to get to like 135 or 140, somewhere in
Still stay in
there.
the 16-cent range?
I mean, I'm sure, no, it wouldn't be 16 cents. It'd start to creep into 17 or more. And we didn't run that one specifically. But I'd say I probably wouldn't recommend more than 130 right now. And plus, too, we want to leave a nice chunk out there for the second piece, should you.
If it's
need
too
to
low,
go-
then it's not attractive,
It
then it
gets
doesn't
more
get-
interest from the buyers.
That'll cost us more, too much.
It's closer to that.
Heard
But
that
those are all
in the past.
excellent questions.
Yeah, good. Where's the sweet spot is, yeah.
I mean, if
thought
we
that
can
was a
get-
good way to
can we
put it.
get more
So
for less?
125 or
I think
130.
130 is a good cap, I would say.
So up to.
Up to
so if-
130.
And I suppose you were looking for guidance. This isn't a motion, kind of an issue for us.
We will be making a
We're giving-
formal
yeah,
motion, yeah.
To authorize you,
But the
but
guidance-
guidance is, we would feel good with your recommendation to go up to 130 with the first issuance. Is that everybody reasonable with that? Think that makes sense?
That's the guidance.
The guidance.
The motion is
Right.
to
We haven't made the
drop it.
motion yet. We'll get Glenn to help us make sure we do this legally.
So then, on that, before Glenn gets up here, what we'll do is the official statement already has 130 million in there. That's the number that we've been working off of, so good guess in terms of that. But what we'll do is we'll go ahead and work from that number, and then if we can stick close to this 16.5 cents, I'll say, because it's going to be a little bit more for 130, but 16.5 cents, that we'll sort of target that. And if interest rates between now and next week jump up, maybe we bring it back down to 125.
And that gives you some flexibility plan the market. We don't, just for clarification, we don't have to wait until 2019. If something happened in 2018, in theory, couldn't we, I mean, if there was a dip somewhere,
It's a little tricky because I do believe you're actually going to need the funds by 2018. But the reason we were working with 2019 is that was when originally we thought capacity would be coming back. But what we've done now, because we believed it was 2019, is we've structured a gap in the debt payments
Okay.
so that we don't have
To
an
build that
increase
back
in 2018 or 2019. But what we can do, again, that question about the fund balance that we said we don't want to necessarily use right now, if for some reason interest rates start to shoot up in 2018 and we want to lock that in and get rid of it, and be able to spend it all, because you do have that big fund balance that you're not touching this issue, we could go ahead and sell the remaining authorization in 2018 without any additional impact because you have saved up that fund.
so again, that gives us some flexibility
flexibility.
to protect us as taxpayers on our ultimate cost.
Yep, so the plan's for 2019, but if for some reason you need 2018, we can make that work.
And when you say 2019, is that July? Is it the same time frame,
Summer.
or is it? It's
Yeah.
still summertime.
It's still summer. We want to make sure we sell before you adopt your tax rate for 2020.
Okay, gotcha. So, okay.
So Glenn Opal will.
Glenn has been with us for many years on many bond issues and helped us stay legal. This is a lot of legalese and documents to make sure it's done right. So thank you
Will
for
sound a
coming.
whole lot simpler than what you just. Again, Glenn Opal with Bracewell, the district's bond counsel. The action item that you have on the agenda tonight is the adoption of an order authorizing the issuance of the bonds. It is, as Jennifer indicated, a parameters order is what we call it. It authorizes the bonds to be issued within certain designated parameters and then delegates the authority to pull the trigger, if you will, on the bond sale to the district superintendent and deputy superintendent. And to maintain maximum flexibility, while you've got that guidance at 130, the bond order is drafted at the maximum amount of 149,700. We adopted this order. If we adopted this order tonight and something happened where you're going to see a rapid disintegration in the market, she could call up between now and the time of sale, and we could make any adjustment up to the maximum amount. It authorizes it up to the maximum maturity amount authorized by law and maximum interest rate. So lots of flexibility built in. Once we take this action, this would be the only official action that you would need to take to issue these bonds. And in fact, marginally, this order is good for up to 365 days. So if something happened in the interim and the market started to deteriorate, we may be able to come back and issue that balance.
We're not likely to have a world war, but if something were to happen, then we needed to stall, right?
We might be able to come back.
Unforeseeable and unreasonable, all right.
So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions on that.
Great. Well, the main question is, you're going to keep us legal, and you've got the documents written as the way that it does. I know you've probably worked with Angela and checking all those off, and Phil and their crew. Does anybody have any questions about this? What we need is this. Somebody want to? Sure. Mike, you got that? You want to make a motion?
Yeah, make a motion that we approve the order authorizing the issuance of Belton Independent School District unlimited tax school building bonds, levying a tax and providing for the security and payment thereof, providing for the award of the sale thereof in accordance with specified parameters, authorizing the execution and delivery of a purchase contract, a paying agent registrar agreement, and an escrow agreement relating to such bonds, approving the preparation of an official statement and enacting other provisions relating thereto.
I have a motion for Mr. Cowan and a second for Mr. Norwood. Any other questions or comments? Do we have everything we need? All in favor of the motion, raise a hand. That passes unanimously. Thank you for taking care of the legal aspects. Thank you for your guidance and advice and helping us get to this. Again, I want to say, Jennifer, you've helped give us models for 3 years, as you said, models that we could use in our planning on what we could do, couldn't do. And it's been an interesting process as we've looked at different models. And as we see some real numbers begin to plug in, I think we're doing our community and our taxpayers a good service by giving them good product at the best price or the lowest ultimate cost. So thank you for your work on our behalf, and we'll look forward to hearing some really good news next week or so as you go to market. So I guess at this point we hope for Isn't it, if the stock market goes up, bonds go down? If the, what do we want to hope for?
Yeah, well, right, we hope of no bad news.
No bad news is what we want. We want a calm July.
No
Everybody go on vacation
Yeah,
and be
like,
calm,
you know,
right?
This is all, everybody just kind of chill for about a week. The Fed meets on Tuesday and Wednesday. We're pricing on Tuesday, but the Fed pronouncemaent's not until Wednesday, so we're trying to get in ahead of
Okay.
that Fed pronouncement as well.
So we won't,
Have
so,
indices or any type of rating system for risk? Like, you know, look at global events, there's gotta be times when things seem more sensitive or more.
Oh, sure,
have
yeah.
that indices
No, really, I
to
wasn't
look
kidding,
at?
like, if, we don't want any tweets, you know, like, we kind of want to keep everything calm and like, you know, no Russian situation or anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah, but in general, you know, if everybody, it just kind of, no big news is good news for us. So if the economy were to collapse between now and then, bonds would do well. But we
Yes.
don't hope for that. We
but
we hope things stay the same and we just hit the market at the right time. And these guys over here at JP Morgan do a great job and getting it out to the market and letting everybody know about the quality of Belton ISD.
Kyle, I did have one question you can probably answer. If there are people locally who want to buy these bonds, is that something they could do, and how would they do that? We get asked that in the past. We've been asked, local people, there's some people who say, I want to buy bonds, school bonds. How does that happen?
So to actually come into the order, or for an individual investor to actually come in an order, that would be through their broker.
They just go through their broker. But it is a possibility for them. They just need to contact their broker and say, this is how it's going to happen. Great.
Absolutely, and to the degree that there are retail orders, you know, we can certainly give them consideration. And
Just mention that, board, I've been asked in the past years, people would say, hey, how do I get in on that? I'd like to do that. They might not want to when they find that the rate's lower than they might want them to be, but happy for them to buy them low, so, for us. So,
it's a little
great.
bit of a high-class problem when your interest rate's so
Yes.
low, they don't necessarily want to invest.
They're right, that's true, good point. Thank you, appreciate you being here. Jennifer, thank you. Glenn, appreciate your work for us, and look forward to hearing a report back next week on what the actual numbers turn out to be.
Hopefully Tuesday.
Great, great. Okay, Dr. Lovesmith, let's shift completely. Let's make let's make a paradigm shift from finance and bond sales and tax rates to pre-K, because that's really what we're about. Is let's take care of these children.
That is correct. So we are here to talk about pre-K. And I just have to begin by thanking the board and those that started on this journey years ago and that are here today to continue just the commitment at pre-K. It is something that not all districts do at the level that we have committed. And just from the quality of program, the resources, the teachers, the facility, it is just sending a message that we value our youngest learners. We value all learners, and it begins the moment you walk in. So,
But Deanna, and I want to just add on, absolutely, we value them, but this is an investment. And
It
I
is
want to
an
be clear,
investment.
in my mind, this has been a question of, I'm not interested in just doing it if it's a nice thing to do. I want to do it if it has a good return on investment. And what we've seen is that it does, so I'm hoping that's
we're
where
going to
you're
talk
headed.
about that and all those
So
graphs that
ROI or how important that is to invest in these students.
So that's who we're investing in. That's just,
And that's all you need to say.
That's all I need to say, right? That's so much cuter than all those numbers on that last presentation.
Yes.
Those are 7 of our pre-K students. And enrollment, you can see, we are staying pretty steady. We ended last year, we had 381 students. If you'll note, the year we took a little bit of a dip, that would be expected with every program when there's a new initiative in place. You always see a little dip before you see the rise. And that was when we opened Beck's, and I think everyone had to get accustomed to what that facility might bring. And we're right back up and higher than where we began in 2013-14. Almost 80% of the students are free and reduced. So with pre-K, you qualify for pre-K by free and reduced application if you're an English language learner, military connected, special education. or foster care. And then that line that we've added in is tuition-based, and that began last year. We decided we wanted to provide an opportunity for those that were looking for high-quality pre-K to be able to send their kids as well there. And that has been a tremendous asset to several of our families, and some of you that might even have some pre-Kers coming our way.
Hey, I've heard that there's
Rumors,
a
states.
special student coming up.
Appreciate whatever you're ready as long as
We warned them. Just kidding.
It's gonna be great.
Precious.
It's gonna be great. And so what we want you to know, what I really want you to walk away with is that learning starts at high quality, high expectation learning starts in pre-K. And if you think for 1 second that it's a daycare or a time of play, those days are gone. They have a rigorous program starting with our 4-year-olds. And so with our curriculum and instruction, what we've done, pre-K is often its own program. You don't always see programs specialized to pre-K, unlike some of our reading or math programs that will have a K through 12 extension. However, we make sure that we have tried to select programs that will align. So our reading instruction is through Scholastic Big Day. We have Conscious Discipline, which aligns with our Safe and Civil Schools. STEM Scopes, which is our science resource use at the elementary, has an early emerging learner program. And then our Math Connects is with Houghton Mifflin. What you'll see is there are 10 domains from the state that you are required to include in your program. And so those are the social emotional development, which
Is that part of what defines it as of high quality?
yes. So when you have a high quality program, you are required to address all 10 of these domains in your pre-K program. Language and communication, emergence literacy reading, there's the writing component, math, science, social studies, fine arts, physical development, and technology. All are domains that we are addressing throughout the day. Some of the highlights that really separate, I think, our program and lean towards the high quality designation is it is a full day program with a certified teacher and an aide.
So it's full day high
Full
quality
day.
as opposed to a half day high quality and a full day program.
That is correct.
Other districts have.
That is correct. So the state provides funding for a half-day program. And if you know about school, you get kids in and you feed them breakfast or you feed them lunch, and that just does not leave a whole lot of time if it's only a half-day program. And so we do go full day. We keep the same number of minutes as an elementary school, so it's 445 minutes. And Belton made a lot of commitment, well, I would say all the commitment that the recent high-quality pre-K program grants came out with. And so last year, if you'll recall, we did receive funding. We received about $140,000 for the 15-16 year and the 16-17, all at the beginning of the year. And it was in an effort to encourage districts across the state to get to offer high quality, to have a full day program, to reach a 1-to-11 ratio, and to ensure that all of the curriculum demands were in there to address the 10 domains. We had been doing all of those things already. We'd already made that commitment. We were able.
Can I add
Sure can.
too that we, prior to 2011, when the legislature cut our funding, we used to get about $365,000 a year in a pre-K expansion grant program that helped us to pay for the other half of the day, which is over 2 years is over $700,000 for us, and that all went away in 2011. And then we just got the grant this past year for the high quality, and I'm not sure where our money is for next year. It's uncertain, I think.
So it's not
at this time,
been
but-
picked up and funded by the
But the
legislature.
funding by the state is significant. That loss of funding, I just wanted to point out, was significant to our district. It was
Yeah.
a lot of money, and we picked up the difference to continue pre-K here for our students.
Yeah, to add on to that, the legislature this time, Governor Abbott made high quality pre-K as a priority, but the legislature didn't fund it. They
right.
basically defunded. They had cut it to cut the grant, the extra, then they defunded it, but they raised the standards and said everybody has to meet high quality.
That's correct.
So it's an interesting unfunded mandate. For us, we made the commitment several years ago and said, the return on investment's too great, it's too important, we're gonna do this with local money, and it has turned out to be a good investment, but it is significant that the state is not helping us meet the needs that even the governor said was one of his highest priorities, and so.
So we used the window for the funding because we had already made such a financial commitment to this program. We were able to use that funding to only make our pre-K program better. We bought a lot of, we were able to upgrade our curriculum, to put in the new science curriculum, to have our teachers trained, to outfit motor labs and science labs and some play labs that we intentionally used to purchase materials that would be sustainable or that would last over time. And so that, in fact, if the funding went away, we would still reap the benefit of those purchases, and we will. Our motor labs and science labs are excellent for pre-K students. So going back to also what is significant on our program, like I said, we have a strong alignment with our kindergarten, our K through 3. We have a strong alignment with our pre-K. So even though we make a very conscious effort to vertically align pre-K through 3rd grade, pre-K is pre-K, and there is a significant benefit to pre-K teachers all being together. They have their own curriculum, their own, it's just a fundamental difference from just pre-K to kinder, more so than probably other grade levels. And so them being able to collaborate, work together, have some system school-wide structures in place that are developmentally appropriate for pre-K. It makes a longer impact for when they start kinder. And then we are able in our facility to dedicate spaces for large classrooms to use for blocks, science labs, motor labs, art, sand, and water labs. And those, again, are critical for four-year-old kids. And then we also have our conscious discipline model, which really focuses on choices, making sure that where a traditional discipline system would look at consequences, this is teaching kids from an early age what kind of choices to make. It focuses on empathy and building positive attitudes. What's also important about pre-K, like I said, it's a rigorous curriculum. And with the rigorous curriculum also comes some high accountability stakes. With pre-K, we use CLI Engage, it's the Children's Institute, and we are assessing kids and their ability at pre-K through formal assessments. Most of the tests are administered one-to-one, so they're not class-wide, and they're administered through technology. We use a lot of iPads. The pacing, of course, of the testing determines the various results that you'll see. So what I want you to really take away from these numbers and when we're talking is that we're making gains with some of our most at-risk populations that come in and then leave us. With the math test, you can see some of the gains there. The maximum score was a 27, and we ended up with an average of 25.
So what do those columns represent? Pre, mid?
So, sorry, I should have labeled that. I apologize. Beginning, middle of the year, and end of year assessments.
Okay.
And so for math, we're looking at, can students count to 30? Can they identify 5 basic shapes? Can they number name? And then can they do shape discrimination? If I were to put various triangles in a 4-grid and 1 square, would they be able to identify which shape was different from the others?
And so that's an average of all of our students?
And that is the average of all of our students.
If you take 381 students and where they scored, we're hitting that high of an
That is how high we're hitting at the end of the year with pre-K. I think what was most significant for me in this data was the next one, which is the rapid letter naming. So rapid letter naming is it is a timed test. So they have 60 seconds. They're given 3 seconds per letter, and they need to name. And there are 52 letters. I know we think there's 26, but we count capital and lowercase letters, and can they distinguish between the two? Again, on a timed test scenario, our students come in knowing on average 7 letters, 6.6, and they end at 31.5. Now, that doesn't mean that they won't recognize all of their letters. It's just, will they recognize them all under timed conditions? And you can imagine with the 4-year-old how that might go. And then science is a series of questions on science topics where the teacher will read a scenario and then ask the student and then give them points based on the correct answer. So they're looking at light, the one prompt might be, if there are a stack of blocks and I pull the middle one out, what will happen? And then they can tell you, and that's force. With writing is a checklist. So with writing, they're looking at fundamental emergent writing skills. So can they draw a picture? Can they make letter symbols? Can they copy from one word to the next, or could they dictate a message? And that's a checklist for a teacher. And then the final is a checklist for social emotional behaviors. And this is where the teacher goes in and provides information on each student, and it's on skills like, can they talk with their peers? Can they assist their peers? Can they participate in groups? Do they respect others? Can they stick with a task for I know I kind of laugh at that one. And then that are challenging, can they take turns? And so those are just observations from the teachers, and we make growth, pretty significant growth with our students from the time they enter until the time that they leave the year. What you hear a lot from teachers, especially the kindergarten teachers, is the ability, the school readiness. And you know what's not often measured is where would they be if they didn't have this program. And so then what makes all this happen? Number one, what makes the STAR scores happen, what makes this happen are our teachers. And we have amazing teachers. And we invest in them, and they invest in our kids. And so we have 21 teachers that are all considered highly qualified. 100% have completed the Texas School Readiness. So that's through the CLI Institute, and it's a series of professional development workshops throughout the year to work with pre-K students and to make sure, all the curriculum, assessment features, problem solving with students. And then our teachers have 67% do have their ESL certification. We have 1 or 2 with their bilingual, and then 1 with their gifted and talented certification. And then we have 21 paraprofessionals, highly qualified, working with those teachers all day long in the classroom, which helps us get to that 1:11 ratio that many districts are struggling to meet. And that is a huge asset. Those paraprofessionals are working instructionally with our students. They work in small groups. They help them with transitions. They are addressing and helping those teachers that are in a room with 22 4-year-olds. And then if you took all of the professional development hours last year that our teachers put in at Bex, it would total over 1,000 hours, and that's right at 74 hours per teacher. And that's a lot of time with our staff devoted to learning and to improving their craft with our students. And then right along with them are our parents. And so one of the newest features with the grant was the family engagement plan, and to really identify what strategies you'd be using to work with our parents. We do have a bilingual campus. You can see in this picture, donuts for dads or donuts con papa.
Leo donuts.
And I think that's how you said it. And just some highlights with our parents. We had learning nights, family nights, health nights, a night on nutrition, math games, a night on helping parents with behavior. And then our teachers are communicating weekly. There's a monthly calendar. There's a monthly school newsletter. We're using Scarlett for those communications. And then they have social media. If you're not on their Facebook page, you should check that out. And they do a lot of parent involvement. And so at the end of the year, they throw on their way to kindergarten parade. And they have just done a tremendous job and continue to do that to invest in our youngest students.
That's so cool.
It is very cool.
Very successful. One of the unique things about that school, and I know we were concerned a little bit about this when we started this, putting them all together, is the advantages of them being all together, you mentioned, but it also means they start all fresh. They all leave, and then they start fresh a new year with a whole new group of kids. And they have 1 year with the parents to develop their PTO and all those things
You're right.
go on. It's an interesting dynamic, but it's working.
And you do think about that, think about the commitment with our teachers and our staff there as well, because it's 1 year. And so for you're getting those routines and trying to establish how parent drop off and pick up and all those things are. And then every year,
It's a whole new
you're
group.
starting again. And a lot of times you are starting with parents for the first time.
Sure.
That have never experienced the school. And so this is their introduction to Belton.
And as you said, this year, we'll start with a parent for the first time.
I gotta say, we recently just toured the facility, and it's amazing. I mean, you think of, that is not what you think of when you think of pre-K. It is above and beyond, and if you haven't walked through the facility, you need to walk through the facility, because it's extremely impressive.
Where do you see it with children fold in action?
We've got to do a better job of getting the word out, because I think there's more people that would like to take advantage of that.
We've been investing in pre-K a long time in this district, and we, in terms of professional development and classroom materials and furniture, but to see them all together in one facility is really special, and it really gives them the significance that they deserve. Prior to having them at this school, they often get shuffled around as we needed space for other classrooms and grade levels as the district has grown, and so they truly did need a dedicated space so they could have age-appropriate equipment and restrooms and materials, and it really has enhanced the quality of our program, and we're very proud of it.
Do we provide busing for these kids?
We do.
So from the whole thing to one.
Yes, they get bused right to the early childhood school, or parents can pick them up and drop them off at the school.
Okay.
Good deal. Thank you very much. And again, outcomes, it's obviously it's hard to, you got to quantify it way later, but somebody needs to do their research 5 and 10 years from now on these students, 12 years from now, and the outcomes compared to those who don't have that opportunity. Because what we see is they're kindergarten ready, accelerated. So let's segue then to summer school.
Summer school. So we are busy. I know that everyone
Summer
takes off
academic
summer.
program, not summer school.
People think that school ends in May, but it doesn't. There are lots of programs that go on. And so I do like to take an opportunity in July, because in August we're already starting back up, to just talk about what all happened in the month of June across the district, because we do have a lot of programs that meet students' needs. The first is our summer school for credit recovery. This is in 6th through 12th grade. It's primarily for high school that we've addressed, where we have students that will be at Belton High School from June 5th through 16, making up credits in their core classes so that they can stay on track to graduate with their peers. And then we did have a couple students at the middle school level that needed to make up some credit in order to get to high school. And so we worked with those students at middle school, and I think that was at South Belton. We also have some students in the summer that want to get ahead, that they might be looking at graduating a semester or a year early, and so we offer some credit for acceleration. I would note that I've noticed some of these numbers are decreasing over time with the increase in credit, high school credit that we're offering at 8th grade level. So we talked about that tonight. We have almost 40% of our 8th grade students, I think it was, that were taking Algebra 1. And I didn't run the percentages, but we also offer Art 1 and Spanish 1. So you can leave 8th grade having 3 of your high school credits completed. And you could come to summer school and pick up your PE, and then you'd be 4 credits in to starting high school, if that's what you choose to do. And so we offer that opportunity, and again, that meets the needs of several of our students.
It's not a race.
And then
Gotta go get it.
we have STAR remediation and testing. So for our 5th and 8th grade students, and then our high school students, there is, for 5th and 8th grade, there's the 3rd opportunity to take the reading and the math assessments. And then for high school, there's another opportunity to take any of the EOCs. And you can see the number of students that we have listed there. They come up, and we'll do some review with them, and then they'll have the opportunity to take the exams at the last week in June. And then we have, for summer camp, we have, for our gifted and talented students, we run camps 2 weeks, the week of June 6th through 10th and the 13th through the 17th. Those have been very successful, held over at Belton New Tech. And we had around 104 students the first week and 102 students the second week. Great opportunity for our students to come. We did classes on coding. There was some writing classes. There was a STEM challenge. There's a reporter camp. And we've really gotten a lot of positive feedback from our gifted and talented students that love that program. We offer an English language learners program. The amount of time is 120 hours, and that's listed that way because there is a state requirement to offer a 120-hour program. We offer that the entire month of June. That was held at Southwest. It's for students entering kindergarten through 1st grade, and then also our newcomers. And so we had a total of about 43 students, and we work on supporting them with English acquisition skills to help bridge that gap between the end of the school year and the start of the new year, help to minimize any possible summer regression that any student might have experience over the summer if they're not reading and working in their school. We also offer an extended school year program for any of our students that have disabilities that again, we'd like to minimize any possible regression. We offer that program throughout June and July. So for them, we want to expand it through the entire summer on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. That's what we're trying this year, found to be the most effective with 44 of our students. And we held that for elementary at Sparta and for our secondary students at Belton High School. And then our newest program this year was SAIL. And SAIL was held June 6th through the 23rd at Miller Heights. We targeted students at Miller Heights and Southwest, and we had a total of 73 students. Again, this is the first time we've ever offered it. It was very successful, so we anticipate the program growing. And what we wanted to do here is we talk a lot about opportunities that we need to offer for our students that come from low socioeconomic, or they're behind, they're struggling students. And our goal is to find a love of learning. And we wanted to do that through a summer camp feel where we could take those fundamental science skills, reading skills, writing skills, math skills, but present them in a way that it would really inspire that feel of learning and provide an opportunity to students that they might not have had the advantage to participate in. And got some great feedback. Kira Smith ran that program for us this year, and Vicki Dean, and they've done just a tremendous job with our staff and our students.
You know, I said this last month when we talked about having this report, but you know, last summer, we had our GT camps that were very popular and exciting and fun, and then we had our regular summer school that was maybe not so fun. It was hard to motivate. It was rote, and the question raised was, why can't we do that kind of enrichment, fun, learning experience for those who need some remedial catch-up help? And you took that and ran with that. You and your staff took it and ran with it and created something special. And so thank you for doing that.
Well, thank you for the opportunity, because it is constantly a goal of ours to just continue to spark that learning and to, again, work, a lot in the summer. A lot of our programs, our credit by recovery, our summer testing programs, the SAIL program, our special ed program, that we have, all of those, the goal is to minimize that lost time over the summer. And it happens when you're not reading every day. I can speak from that in my own home. You have a small child, and you just want to keep those skills sharp. And so the summer program has been great. Overall, we spent, and there's a couple more pictures of some of the projects. One of them, they're doing a storytelling, and they dressed up in the costumes for that. And then others, one of their art projects that they incorporated with science. Overall, I listed our expenses and our revenues here, and our total program, total costs for all these programs was right at $120,000. Most of those are paid for with special allotment funding that we have for those designated programs. Our special education programs, Gifted and Talented, and our SSI, our SAIL, all those have revenue sources to support those types of programs. So we will continue to plan in our regular budget process to support these.
Any questions, comments? Thank you, Deanna. Appreciate the report and the follow-up on that. Mr. Haggerty, come talk to us about our awesome auto tech shop that is done and ready to go, ready to utilize.
Thank you. Last Friday, we had the opportunity to walk with our contractor and architect over through the CT Auto Tech building, and as well as the construction trades project. We had an opportunity to go through the punch list, get everything cleaned up on a punch list, get everybody happy, and they have turned that over to us, and we'd like for you tonight to consider going ahead and accepting those projects and releasing the final payment app in the amount of $58,355.05.
Great. Well, I think everybody had an opportunity to see the facility, really nice facility, and I told Brian Bounds that he better get ready. With them being where they're located, they're going to have kids walking by saying, I want to do that. And so I think, Amanda, we're going to have an increase as students see fun, interesting things happening in there, much different than being over here where they're hidden away and having to bus over and not really adequate facilities. Really significant increase in interest, which will then prepare them to get jobs. So great opportunity, really excited about this. This was one of our priorities. Think back, we had this on our capital list and on our priorities for several years, and we found a way to do it. And so thank you for bringing it to closure on that. David Bennett, appreciate your work on that also. I know Phil spent a lot of time on that. David obviously kept an eye on it very closely, and we appreciate that and excited about that was. So we need recommendation, acceptance and closeout of the Automotive Technology Building and Construction Technology Outdoor Shop Project. Remember that part of it too. And the release of the final payment of $58,355.05. Is there a motion to approve? Motion for Mr. Camden. Thank you very much. And a second for Ms. Lee. Any questions, comments? All in favor of the motion, raise a hand. Passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right. Deanna, other Clavel, walk us through a little budget update. We've been talking about money earlier and tax rates and all, but talk to us about where we're at with, I think you're going to get us started.
Yes, so Jennifer kind of mentioned earlier, we did receive our certified values this afternoon. Not soon enough for me to update the information in our presentation, but I'll speak to it when we get to some of those areas and provide you some updated information there. So our priorities, of course, for the budget have not changed from previously. All of these are in line with our district improvement plan and our district goals, and we work to achieve these throughout the process. Our assumptions and considerations, last month the board approved a 2% raise for the employees, an additional $25 to the health plan. So we have made sure that all of that is included in the proposed budget for next year to work all of that in as well, based on your recommendation. And so here I've provided some historical tax rates as we get ready to think about tax rates for next month when we bring that for you to consider and adopt to support the budget as what those have looked like over the years. And so you can clearly see here in the years that we've had some bond elections that we were able to then come in a little bit lower, and in the next preceding year after, we were able to reduce our tax rate to help and assist with our community members. And so you can clearly see that here in our graph. We have not changed our tax rate in 3 years. And so this will be the first year in a few years that we will have an adjustment to that the INS side of the tax rate. And so assessed values, we did receive our certified values, and I have that here with me, so I can talk to that. So our certified values, we are pretty conservative in that, and we came in and they told us going to be about a 6% increase when we received those back in April. They actually came in at our freeze-adjusted taxable values, came in at 8% increase over last year, which is pretty significant to us, especially when we're looking at our debt. Provides some additional revenue to us on the local side as well. Does not affect our state funding. Our state funding is based on last year's values, and so our state funding for this upcoming year is not affected by those.
Again, declare the difference between M&O and INS. M&O, the more local we get, the less state we'll get. So that doesn't help us to have that 8% growth from the M&O side. On the INS side, it does help us.
Yes, it does. That is correct. And so if you look at, that's our freeze-adjusted taxable value, but when you look at our certified net taxable values with those frozen values included, it was an 8.6% increase in our values from one year to the next.
Let me ask now, would you send that report? I guess we got the report. Would you send that back out to us? We obviously don't have that. Maybe we'll have it to accept, but send that out to us as soon as possible.
And so here is some historical information as well as some projections out into the future based on our taxable values and what we're seeing. And what we actually have, although we've had 2 years of over 8% increase in values, we're still only averaging about a 4.7% increase overall when you look at all of it together. But the last 2 years have been significantly higher than we've seen in a really long time for our values. So it does go with the growth that we're seeing and we talk about all the time. You can see that here when we get our certified values at each year. That the growth is there, whether it's reappraised values or new buildings or retail and commercial. And so for us, for revenue, so this was an updated, but with those additional values, we'll bring a few $100,000 in for revenue that we'll be able to discuss with administration to get that into our budget as well and see what we can do with that for us. Last month, was mentioned and commented on the fact that each year that per student revenue decreases each year. And so I want to talk a little bit to that, kind of how that works. So up there at the top, we have some comparisons for enrollment. We budget based on enrollment. We've got to support all the kids that come in, but the state actually funds us on our ADA, or average daily attendance. And so our enrollment growth is about 2.5%. Templeton's projecting a little higher into the future, but our revenue growth is only averaging about 2.5%, 2 to 2.5%. So it's not quite equal. And so the more students we have doesn't necessarily mean our revenue matches that for every dollar. And so we do see a slight increase in our revenue per student as we move into the future. So this is just some information on enrollment just to show our enrollment is steadily increasing. Does not necessarily reflect the percent change from each year, but it's just to show where we were and where we're headed as far as students go. And you can see there 2021, 22, and almost 13,000 students in our district. So some additional information here is kind of how our revenue is broken down as far as local, state, and federal. Kind of gives you an idea of the makeup of our revenue and what that looks like. So to kind of move from our budget specifically, I have some information in here that kind of shows you the state education budget and what that looks like, just to kind of put into perspective some of the things that we're seeing in our district and in our budget. But you can see that in 2008, at one point in time, it was almost a 50-50 funding as far as state and local revenues. within their budget. And you can see that over time, that gap has kind of separated. So as the local values and local revenue is increasing, that state aid is decreasing over time. And so I thought this was a good representation of what we kind of talk about the state funding being reduced, and what that's looked like and how that gap is anticipated. This was from the comptroller's office, some information that they had. And so 16 and 17 were some projections that they had in there. So that doesn't mean that that's what actually happened, but this was as of 2015 and some projections that they were seeing in their figures. So we didn't have any change here. We will have a balanced budget to bring to you next month, a proposal for you to adopt, and anticipate to continue to be able to do that each year after. And so this is an updated chart on the percent of our budget in the different areas that are represented by our budget. And you can see that the instructional portion of our budget, which is our biggest part of our budget, is greater than 50%. And that's everything geared towards the classroom and our students and our teachers and all of the things that they need to receive the quality instruction that we're providing here. And that is greater than 50% of our budget. And so this is another way to look at that. And this is a comparison year over year, the percent of the budget, and to show that the percent of our budget is increasing each year as we have additional revenue. But the biggest change in our budget is on that instructional side, and you can see that here, that we're putting more towards that instruction to support because we have more students. It's not that we're putting more there, but we have more students to support in that area. And then I'm going to invite Dr. Moeller to come up. I've got a couple slides here. Have some information for you.
Well, welcome. We're glad you're here. It's good to have you presenting.
Well, very quickly, there's just 2 slides here that I want to talk about, but in about a month, you're going to...
Use the mic to make sure we're recorded.
In a month, you're going to approve a budget, or about a month. You're going to approve that budget at the function level. And while every function is important, there are a couple that seem to attract more interest than others. And one of those is function 41. Well, function 41 is the general administration function. That's oftentimes thought of the central office administrative function. And so what you can see here is, it's a little bit hard to read, but down across the bottom, you have a comparable group. And these are the districts that you've used to compare on other things, I think probably most recently salaries. And so you see College Station in there, you'll see Midway and other districts as well. What this is showing is a percent of actual expenditure. So whereas Deanna was talking to you about the future budget and also looking back at the current budget, this is looking back at actually audited financial expenditures. So you'll see the years down there at the bottom, so you can see 2012 all the way through 2016, and that's fiscal year 2016, which means the budget that ended in August of 2016. And so what this allows you to do is kind of at a glance to see how is Belton ISD doing in terms of administrative cost in function 41 compared to other districts. And you can see it's very much in line.
Right in the middle.
Right in the middle.
What you'd expect.
And kind of like was mentioned in the earlier presentation on the bond funding, that's kind of where you want to be. You really don't want to be an outlier when it comes to budgets, when it comes to expenditures. The next slide, this is the same kind of information, and it looks at function 11. Function 11 is important because that's where you have direct instruction for the district coded. And so you can see you want that to be an upward trend. You can see that's exactly what the trend is, Belton being the first set of bars on the graph from left to right. Just a couple other things. This information is available through a data analytics tool that Belton ISD has used for a couple of years, which is the Forecast 5 data analytics.
So why is that one over there kind of towards the right so different? Why is Colleen so unique and different, Dr. Muller?
I think certainly I shouldn't speak for Colleen, but
You can speak about them.
Yeah, I think a couple things. One, Killeen is very, very large. You know, it's 44,000, 45,000 students, and that does begin to cause differences in the way they budget. The other thing is they don't really have debt.
Why is that?
Impact aid to pay for their facilities, not exclusively, but in large part. And so that allows them to spend more in certain areas.
So everybody else has to borrow money, they just get it from the feds and impact aid? Is that basically how that works? So they're kind of an outlier, right?
Yeah, they're a little bit of an
Okay,
outlier.
I don't
Well,
mean
they're
to
an
pick on them,
outlier.
they have the advantage, and so they get that, so.
Well, they're an outlier in this group. To be fair, you would almost need to create a set of comparables that were enrollment size comparable to Killeen. Because in this group, across your comparables, the enrollment is pretty much the same. You know, College Station's enrollment's about what?
Right,
Belton
right.
ISD.
Georgetown, right? Pretty similar.
Killeen truly is an outlier just in terms of enrollment.
Okay. Thank you. Interesting. A lot of information there, but good to know where we're supposed to be. Good comparative data. Thank you.
And so something new from last month is a look at our revenues for school nutrition. And here we do see with our enrollment growing in our district, we see participation in our school nutrition department growing. So we will naturally have an increase in revenues coming in for reimbursable meals and revenue for a la carte type items. We've also have done a lot of things over the last few years to enhance our cafeterias with our menu options, some renovations, some new lines, upgrading some equipment, and we've seen that generate additional interest. Our food truck coming online. We've got more students wanting to participate, more adult meals being sold, which will naturally see an increase in our revenues for that as well that come back into our school nutrition department to continue that enhancement process and make that. We want all of the kids in our district to eat. And we want to be able to make sure that we're having meals that they're finding nutritional and acceptable, that they want to participate in that. And so that's kind of an overview of what those revenues look like for school nutrition. And then debt service. So debt service, when I looked at this, we kind of talked about, it had been talked about a little bit about doing a $130 million issue. And so I based this on that, what Jennifer had provided to us about a week or so ago, to kind of look on what that would look like for revenues. So with that, our revenues, with selling a $130 million bond and the debt rate the INS tax rate that would generate, we would have about $13 million in local revenue, and that would support all of the debt, new debt that we would have in addition to the current debt that we have. With that, you kind of see a slight change in the state revenue there. So our state revenue is based on prior year values, property values. So you do see a slight increase there based on the way that the formula funding is. But until we actually have all of the information in here, that will kind of adjust a little bit.
We will see a decrease next year.
Correct.
8%, we didn't have 8% last year, so we'll see a decrease next year in the state funding.
Correct.
But that's factored in. Jennifer's got that all figured.
Yes, she
Y'all
does.
work together and figure all
Correct.
that in. Okay.
And so some important dates coming up is August. So in August, we are required by Truth and Taxation to publish in the newspaper our public meeting, and that has to be done no later than 10 days before the meeting, but not earlier than 30 days. So we have a window in there that we have to meet in order to publish our notice of our public meeting. And then we'll have our budget hearing and a proposal to adopt a recommendation to adopt a budget at our regular board meeting. We will discuss a proposed tax rate to support the budget. And then the adoption of the budget and the tax rate following those reviews. And then all of that information, the sale of the bonds will happen next week. We anticipate that happening next week, so that'll be included next month. When we bring that to you, we'll be able to look at those tax rates, bring all of that to you, and have all of that updated information. And then tomorrow, I believe it's tomorrow, is they convene in a special session for the state. And so we may hear some news coming from them in the following months as well, and some updates that may impact us in the upcoming year that we will bring to you at a later time if any of those apply to us. Any questions on our budget?
So we're getting closer. We're beginning to getting the pieces to put together, and the final values is obviously a very important piece of the formula, plug it all in. So what do you need left? I mean, what's to follow to plug in and finalize the budget?
So now that we have certified values, we'll put all of that information in, look at our budget, go through it, make sure we've got everything in there, everything that's necessary, make sure all of our salaries are pulled over and all of those changes have been made appropriately.
Make sure everybody's coded in the right
Make
places.
sure everybody's coded
all that.
correctly for the new year. And those are just kind of some final pieces that we'll work on before I bring that to you next month.
Okay. Great. Anybody? Thank you. Phil, thank you. Appreciate, Robert, thank you for the information. Appreciate y'all working on this and keeping all that in line. Okay, next item is, we're not taking any action, but we will be next month. Next item is to name a delegate and alternate to the 2017 TASB Delegate Assembly that happens at the convention. Sue has filled that role for the last 3 years, 2 years, 2 years. Mike filled it for several years prior to that. I did it for a number of years prior to that. I haven't really asked. I don't know if anybody is interested in wanting to do that. Jeff, Leo, y'all are kind of getting to the point. You don't have to, but you might, it's something, it's an educational thing. Mike, I don't know if you're wanting to go back. I like it, and I'm going if y'all, regardless. I mean, I'll go to the thing one way or another. So does somebody want to be?
I'll do it. If Susan doesn't want to go.
Sue, you want to?
Just call me Susan.
Susan,
I'll be an
Sue.
alternate.
Okay, Jeff, you're interested in doing it?
Yes.
All right, well, then let's recognize,
No, you're fine.
Jeff's gonna do it, Sue be an alternate, and I'm gonna go anyway, because I like it. And I'm into legislative stuff. I'm kind of a legislative junkie, so, okay, that's the recommendation. We don't have to vote on that, I just appoint that, I think. Or do we vote on that?
I think it's an action item.
Okay, well, action. Make a motion.
Yes, I'll make a motion.
Move to approve Jeff. Got a motion and a second. Jeff as our delegate and Sue as our alternate. All in favor of the motion, raise a hand. That passes unanimously. Thank you very much. I think you'll enjoy the learning process, and I don't know. Again, I like it. Okay, issues or concerns for future agenda administrative reports. Ty, you got anything? Well,
No.
Sue?
No.
Mike?
No, sir.
Janet?
No.
Jeff? Okay, just, Susan's already mentioned to us several back-to-school things. Just to remind you, we've got a couple of more weeks, and then it gets real busy. So, lots of things going on. Make sure convocation, do we have a time for convocation
We
yet?
don't.
Okay, so
I'll get that to
convocation
you.
will be really important, and we want everybody involved in that one. And our next regular meeting is August 21st, which is the first day of school. So we'll be back together for our meeting then and have pretty significant things.
I'll send you invites to all
Yeah,
of those.
so there's lots of events that are going to come up in the interim. Also want to wish Janet an early birthday, August 11th. She's got a birthday coming up. Okay, those are our future events. At this time, the board will be going to closed session under the personnel exception. We do not have any action to take after. You're welcome to stay. We will return to open session before we adjourn, but we're only going to return to open session to adjourn. So for those of you that don't want to hang around, have a great rest of your July and stay in the air conditioning as much as you can. Thank you all. It is 9:29 and we will reconvene in open session. There being no further business, this meeting is adjourned.